I must say, I'm a little too enamored with our new opening. I need to get over myself. I want to thank Jeremy from the somebody put on the board there the name of that damn company again that Jeremy was kind enough to put together that opening graphics for us. Did an amazing job. Some people are complaining that it's too slick, that the show is not supposed to be that professional looking. And film composer Brian Tyler for writing, composing, producing, and playing instruments on the new opening theme song. You know, there's still a contest going on. Write your theme song, produce a little 30-second piece of music. Try to bump out Brian Tyler. Send that to contact@kevinbullockschatshow.com. Welcome one and all to number 34. Some say 33. I say, no, you're wrong. It's 34. This is the last show before the Thanksgiving break. Where do I begin? What a week it's been. Let's start with the biggest news, shall we? I want to say the last 33 shows have been enriching beyond belief, but my next one will be my last. From Wake Up Chicago to creating an empire worth over $2 billion, not to mention 3 million followers on Twitter, Oprah and her accomplishments as a talk show host are in fact unparalleled. No male or female talk show host has ever achieved her level of financial success. I congratulate Oprah with all due respect to her accomplishments. Having said that, allow me to address a few things that have not been said. Naming her magazine after herself and then insisting on being the only person to ever grace the cover, the only person to ever be photographed for the cover of said magazine, is also unparalleled. Unparalleled in terms of being a certified megalomaniac. Even Martha Stewart, that felon whose mag is named after her, has the occasional photo taken of just pie. Yes, Oprah's level of self-made success as the host of a talk show has no equal. But she has lost touch with reality, dare say I. And ladies and gentlemen, let me be the first who says it. This emperor has no clothing. I almost didn't vote for Obama. Yeah, because as my better half said it best, it felt like voting for him was something Oprah was telling America to do.
That was my mother that said that.
Oh, was your mother that said that?
That was Julia Kay.
No, Julia Kay Fox gets credit for that one. We love giving credit where credit is due. Dr. Phil is not, in fact, a PhD. What he is a stooge. An Oprah stooge. He's nothing more than a circus act, according to this humble foe. An educated bumpkin that Oprah shoved down our throats until we swallowed. Now I see billboards for something called Dr. Oz. Don't know what it is, don't fucking care. Sweet Lord, I just pray that he's at least a real doctor. Up next, the Oprah Cable Television Network. While I am amazed and respect her success and tip my hat to her making it light years beyond all realms of possibility, all by herself. Oprah's show was never my cup of tea. It will take a loaded gun shoved up my ass before I watch anything on the Oprah Network. Although I've never heard this mentioned in her litany of accomplishments, she succeeded historically in alienating 92.4% of the male population. Young, old, lower, middle, or upper class, other than a few henpecked husbands, and I'm assuming a dining room full of gay men, the male demo of this country do not hang on her every thought and will never buy the book Oprah thinks we should read. Ladies, if your man says, yeah, baby, I like Oprah, then he's a lying sack of shit. He's also spineless. So with regards to Oprah's tear-filled, much talked about, not to mention painfully rehearsed departure announcement, on behalf of the vast majority of men, Oprah, We never cared, we never will, and don't let the door hit you in the tush on the way out. There, I said it. Other big news, of course, New Moon, 140 mil. Oh my, how many times can a 12-year-old sit through a film? 140 mil, that is impressive. I don't care how you slice it. It won't reach the $1 billion mark, as only one film has. What was it? Oh wait, well, we'll talk about stats a little later. It was almost $2 billion, I think. Anyways, 1.8. 1.8.
Not counting DVD sales.
Not counting DVD sales. Hey, they're all spoilers. Okay. So hats off to everybody involved in the New Moon. Way to go. Way to be ahead and create the curve on what 12-year-olds will have a crush on. And 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds.
Jaden liked it.
Our very own Jaden announced on Twitter that she's a fan. She doesn't care who makes fun of her. And by the way, I'm not making fun of anybody who loves this or all the Twilight movies. It is geared towards a very specific and loving and welcoming demographic, and they should celebrate and be happy. They got a movie that they want desperately and got. So new theme song, new opening credits. You know what else I can tell you? New website coming. Oh yeah, coming fast, down the tracks. Digital Innovations, by the way. Jeremy over there is the one who put together that opening piece. Wanted to thank him, as we will each and every damn week. Just a fan of the show who offered up a new opening with his brilliance, and we said, yeah, man, make it happen. That's pretty cool. Another Jeremy comes down the pike, wants to build a website. Showed us some original animation graphics for said website. How to make it interactive, fully interactive. Very, very exciting. Interactive with myself, the staff here. Oh yeah, they're going to be a part of it. You're going to be able to shoot and instantly upload your own Larry King game. Oh yeah, you are. You're going to be able to play Tyra Paris or Demi as a quiz show for points, which will be redeemable towards prizes, or sign on and play against each other live for said prizes. Okay? Speaking of Tyra Paris or Demi, you had one loaded up, didn't you?
I did.
And we thought Sam was going to be here today.
He doesn't tell us anything.
I think he did, actually. We just forgot. It was on a, well, anyways, that leaves only Kenny to host the show. Unless, I know, Jamie, you never want to be that.
No, I would never do it.
Yeah. So, Kenny, are you up to hosting the, you look a little sick.
I am a little sick, but I will do anything, Captain, my captain.
All right.
Also, he usually goes through and like, there was no prep work done.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll just
we're going to have to postpone it. You, my friend, are going to get a leave, or no, a stay of execution on having to play Tyra Paris or Demi. It's a Twitter game. Twitter quiz show sensation.
Okay.
Are you crushed?
I am crushed.
Okay, all right, well.
I'm saddened. And I have to now go on and act glib.
Yeah. Okay, lots of interactive action to be announced in the coming weeks regarding the new KevinPollocksChatShow.com website. Instead of just being a hub for all episodes archived, we thought you guys deserved a little bit more than that. So we're going to go nuts. We're going to go from piece of shit to fantastic. That's what we're striving for. Should be up by year's end. Well, lastly, want to mention, again, we've got a couple of emails regarding the dinner for 30, but I'm going to keep hammering this, I'm sorry, until we get, well, actually, there's one of all the emails. There's one that's in the running, let's just say that. Dinner for 30, should you be new to this particular podcast, I played in a huge poker tournament that was for charity, so all the money was prizes. I won dinner for 30 at the Gallery Restaurant in Santa Monica. Yes, I did, because I'm good. Dinner for 30 sounds pretty impressive, don't it? It's not. It's hot dogs, hamburgers, or pasta for 30, which I found out after I called up to make a reservation for my birthday and 30 of my closest friends, who I did not want to feed hamburger, hot dogs, and pasta. However, perhaps your children play in Little League, some sort of organized thing. Perhaps there's a drama class or something that you would like to entertain the children with the dinner for 30. It is my gift to you because I want this prick at the gala to cough it up. Oh, he's paying for dinner for 30. Even if it is hot dogs. He's going to cough it up. We've got till March to figure this out, people, before the next tournament. And one of you were kind enough to email and give some information about your daughter and you wanting to help her out at school, and you're in the running. You know who you are. But I want to hear from some other people. I'm getting emails, people saying like, hey, I dig the show I watch every week, and I like hot dogs. I'm sure I could find some people to bring. Yeah, it's not how it works. Okay? Although, there is the option of bringing 30 homeless people in there. Don't think it hasn't crossed our mind. Thanks to Ustream for their sponsorship, and I hope everyone has a fantastic Thanksgiving. DonkeyTees.com is where you go to get your ass one of these. Wah, wah. I gave out the wrong promotional code to get 20% off your entire purchase, not just on this, but any other t-shirt you may be ordering from there. The promotional code is not chat show. It's just chat. Just chat. So type in chat, should you be wanting. And thanks to the Donkey Tea folk. Yeah, my live stand-up CD called What Are the Chances is available on iTunes. We had a graphic that we threw up one week. Probably should have asked you guys to load that, but I didn't. So check out the show from a couple weeks ago. So I will miss you. I hope your Thanksgiving is lovely. We will talk about ours when we return. We'll be taking the Sunday just after Thanksgiving off so that everyone here and there can enjoy themselves a full, long recovery after visiting the family for Thanksgiving, because after all, that is what Thanksgiving is. A little reminder as to why you left home. What? No. We're going to see Jamie's family for Thanksgiving.
It was a surprise for my mom, and if she's watching this, you just blew it.
Well, we're not going to see your family. We're going to see my family.
Oh, damn it. Now I blew it.
No. Actually, this is me letting you know.
Don't let her watch.
This is me letting you know. We're going to see my family. Yeah, but it's a surprise for my mom, and she doesn't know yet, and she doesn't watch this, so we're fine. So we're going to go out to the Arkansas to see Ma for Thanksgiving. We've been going to see Jamie's family the last couple of years, which is fantastic. Which is why.
He comes here every Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and the night before, can I tell them?
Fred's Divot?
Yeah, the night before Thanksgiving in Pittsburgh, where her family is from and live, is the Eve and the Beeve, because it's in Beaver County. Is that where Eve and the Beeve comes from?
Yes,
yeah.
Beaver County.
Beaver County. So we do the pub crawl, as it were, starting off at Fred's Divot.
Gotta go to Fred's Divot.
Gotta go to Fred's Divot.
And then we do lesbian karaoke.
And then lesbian karaoke. Who doesn't want that? It's not what you think. But Fred's...
We have to give Robin Barngrover credit for coining the phrase Eve and the Beeve, because she came up with it, and now it is adapted in everyone in Beaver County. Now
it's in the paper. It's in the...
Pretty much.
Yeah, you can read about it in the paper. Yeah, the paper. So Robin came up with this Eve and the Beeve, and we start at Fred's Divot, or certainly end up at Fred's Divot. Second year I go, as we get through the front door, there's a doorman at Fred's Divot, because people are dying to get in there. And we walk past, and we hear this from behind us. Was that Kevin Pollak? And the doorman says, yes, he comes here every Thanksgiving. So, unfortunately, that won't be happening this year. So, I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving.
I'm not even watching.
Oh, well, I'm still not going to take that chance. Hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we will speak to you afterwards. Born in Newark, New Jersey, my guest decided at a very young age that he was bound for California. Soon after, set his sights on a career as a filmmaker. After attending film school, he got a lowly position at a studio, as so many do, where he fell backwards into the visual effects end of the biz. What became his area of expertise has now garnered him countless awards, including an Academy Award for making a ship sink. A ship called Titanic. A film that the world went to see repeatedly until 1.8 billion was collected.
Not counting DVDs.
Not counting DVDs. His latest efforts include Martin Scorsese's Cutter's Island. Island?
Shutter.
Shutter. Jesus. What am I thinking? Cutter. Oh, that was that Cutthroat. Ooh, yeah, that's bad. Shutter's Island.
I didn't work on that one.
Yeah, no. And the most anticipated film of 2009, James Cameron's Avatar. Please welcome our 5th Academy Award winner to this very table, Robert Legato. Thank you for being, sir.
Oh, my pleasure.
Appreciate it very much.
There's applause around the
Right?
5, 6, 7 people here.
Uh-huh.
That's so great.
Yeah, mostly in the outer studio. Why would I write down Cutter's Island? That's ridiculous.
I don't know.
That's just
I'm
wrong.
not sure I even want to see that film.
No, you don't. Shutter's Island, on the other hand.
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island. Let's lose the apostrophe and the S.
Yeah. It's
right.
not like the hotel down the block, but
Right. Shutters.
yeah.
Which should be an island at this point.
It's a nice island. I like.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
Do you know what's good there? The tortilla soup.
I
gonna
don't
say-
remember that. I stayed there several years ago when I was working on the $1.8 billion cruise.
Before DVDs.
Yes, because I was too tired to drive home. Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, you guys were shooting down in Manhattan Beach.
We were shooting actually
Ish.
in
Mexico.
and then we shot in Playa, the
Playa.
Howard Hughes studio, and then we shot in, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
It was Mexico and that, and I shot some stuff in Acton, California.
I'm trying to figure out why you were positioned and stationed.
Oh, Digital Maine,
Shutters.
where I was actually doing the all the work. I was on a shortened schedule. I think it was 7 days a week, 18-hour days. So
Is that all?
yeah, that was it.
I'm sorry. It sounded like you said 7 days a week.
I did say that.
Well,
I was now wondering if I said it wrong, but yes, it was 7 days a week.
I'm going to need some more information, sir.
Okay.
Because although I've heard tell about people working on 7 days a week on things, I've not experienced it. And my understanding from my research, from your dossier, if I may,
Top secret dossier?
that's not that secret now. You were doing work on the set in Mexico till 2 a.m. and then had to be on the set elsewhere at 7 a.m. And you got an RV and a
Yes.
driver who
Yes,
tried to transport you
Yes.
until you found out
That he suffers from clots,
he suffers from blood clots.
and he was on blood thinners
And he-
as he was driving me,
That didn't
trying to get some sleep.
That didn't keep you
Yeah.
up.
No, that didn't keep me up at all. It was like that scene in Annie Hall with Christopher Walken,
Yes.
and where he's driving and he's staring at the yeah.
Which is why, on a side note, he got the Deer Hunter.
Because of that scene.
That's all you had to see. That was the audition.
That was the other one.
Sometimes I stare into the headlights and I want to drive into them. Yeah, well, excuse me. Well, get back to the planet Earth.
That was one of my favorite lines from that movie.
Yeah.
I use that often.
Get back.
I'm
to
due
the planet.
back on Earth. Yeah.
Due back. Yeah, on Earth. So, how did you? You didn't do the RV thing too long. Also, I
Just a
understand
week.
that the bed
5
was
days.
set over the back axle, so there was no sleeping, anyways.
Yeah. So the arrangement was Jim had like 1,000 extras or some whatever the cast of 1,000 people were, where there was a short time zone, and it happened to be scheduled the same time that I was shooting the sinking part, and I was the cameraman and the guy making all the arrangements. So I had to do both things, and I had to be in there because it's too expensive for them. So came up with a brainstorm, if you would call it that, and actually it's probably not, is, well, I'm shooting at night in Acton, and they're shooting days in Mexico, and if I get a motorhome, I could leave around 4 o'clock in the morning from Acton and drive comfortably and sleep, that was the illusion, and sleep, and then get in Mexico at 8 o'clock, shoot all day, get into my motorhome, and sleep, go back, shoot all night, eat occasionally in there, and I didn't realize how stupid and insane it was until you actually repeat it to somebody else, and then of course the first night I was just making pleasant conversation with, we now call him Scotty the Clot Man, because he said, I said, well, how come you're doing this? You have, he goes, oh, and I'm in retirement, I need something to do, and I can't really do a lot of things because I have, you know, I suffer from blood clots, and I'm on blood thinners. And then he shoves off. And I was like, well, I'm not going to sleep now. Yeah. And I'm literally like, you know, like Woody Allen in the driving to the airport in the Annie Hall. And then, of course, literally, the axle, the bed is right. So it's not really designed to sleep in transport.
In no way.
No way. And so I every time we'd hit a bump, I would smack up like a comedy routine and hit the thing above it and slam down and be daydreaming that this guy is going to die at any moment. He's going to have a clot, drive off the side of the road. That's the end of me.
Right.
So.
But after hitting your head on the ceiling a few times, you're probably hoping for the clot.
Yeah. And then, of course, the only thing I can recommend is sleep, actually, because when you deprive yourself of sleep, you get incredibly cranky and irritable and paranoid and irrational. And it got worse and worse every day until it reached a fever pitch. And then I decided, you know, like, maybe this isn't really worth it. Yeah. And I went, the entire time I was there, Jim never gave up a camera, so I could never actually shoot the stuff I was there to shoot. So I had to totally create it from scratch later. So the entire week was a complete waste of time.
But a great story.
But it was a good, yeah, at my expense. Yes, it is a great story.
Well, great stories are only at someone's expense.
Yeah, there happened to be. I have several at my expense. But
yeah.
That's just one of them.
Let's stop for a moment with the telling of the Titanic experience. And like many good films, you start with something exciting and then you flash back to how it all began.
Okay.
What's this business about? I was 5 years old when I decided I wanted to live in California. You were in...
It was literally, I was in New Jersey, in Highland Avenue, New Jersey, in Newark. Right. And for some reason, some bizarre, whatever epiphany you could have when you're 5.
Was it from a movie? What of California did you even know as a 5-year-old?
Disneyland just opened up. And they used to have those, I don't know if you remember these old cartoons, they used to have like the bouncing orange. And it says, I used to hate them, but they were on, and it would be, you know, follow the bouncing orange, and you'd sing along to a song, and one of them was California, Here We Come. So something about California, Here We Come, and Disneyland, and it was always warm, and I even at that age, I questioned if there's a place on Earth that the weather is so much better than here, why are we here? Why don't we live there? Now, if that's a choice, you should make that choice. And,
yeah.
And then it would snow, and I go, well, this is crazy. So from that age,
and at 5, you couldn't do the math that there were oranges and warm weather just a little bit down the coast in Florida.
No, that didn't work. And there was certainly no Disneyland.
No, not for another 16 years.
Yeah, so I couldn't even predict that. I mean, I could, you know, at 5. So I decided I am going to California. So anybody ask me, where are you going? I'm going to California. And I'd be like, sure, I'm Italian. So when we move away to the next block. And so you don't actually move away like in the
So
grand.
Little Italy can be Little Italy.
Little Italy. You never really go out past your neighborhood too much. You know, you're in maybe a borough. If you, a long distance would be like you turn the gas off and make a sandwich and you go 20 miles away, and that would be to visit somebody. But
I would think even in school, as a 5-year-old saying, I'm going out California way.
Yes, that was.
You're getting shoved around a little. Shut up, Legato. You ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. I always had stupid things to say in school, so that was just one of them. They always questioned me. But
were you cutting up in class and not paying attention?
I didn't start that way. I started
Catholic school.
Catholic school, yes.
Hello.
I was beaten at an early age, and my first day of school, my first day of Catholic school, I was hit.
You were hit.
My first day, yes. People would tell me things and I would tend to believe them. So like if you would explain a word to me, what's recess? Recess means you stop what you're doing and you sort of have free time. So they said, okay, everybody's going to have recess. So I being, what, was 6 maybe, I guess, we all had to stand in line, and I thought we're going to go outside and play, because that's my interpretation of recess. And it's like, no, you stand in line quietly to go to the bathroom, even if you don't have to go to the bathroom. So I thought, well, okay, well, maybe it's a bizarre recess. So I was then talking to the kid next to me who's going, shh. It's like, no, it's recess. This is recess. I'm 6. So come on. and I was trying to make him laugh and do funny things, and he's just like,
You thought,
and so
you thought it was a bizarro world, Recess?
yeah, I'm a last born. Things happen, and I just have to accept them. I don't know what the.
You're 6. You're halfway to California.
I'm halfway to California. I'm looking at my watch, and pretty soon I'll be there. Another 12 years of this, and I'll be there. And so, and I just was doing it the entire thing. It's like I was trying to get everybody to talk because they didn't. I figured I had the explanation of what recess was, and they didn't. So my job was to inform the stupid people in line who were just quiet, and somehow I was like this idiot, like trying to, like the guy in the Ed Sullivan Show with the plates.
I was just going to say the spinning plates.
Spinning plates. It's like it's not working, and I don't know what. And I go and I have to go to the. It's like I don't have to go to the bathroom when I. So then I come out of the thing, and everybody is walking, and this. She looked to me at that age. I was a really tiny kid. Like she was like 8 feet tall. I mean, it's like
a Coke machine.
It's like
shoes.
Wilt Chamberlain in a habit, and all I remember is just my feet getting picked up off the ground, and I was hoisted up. I mean, I probably didn't quite happen this way, but I was picked up, and then she put me over her knee and spanked me in front of in the hallway. Everyone in line to show off. Here's how you don't behave, and it was like, but it's recess. I mean, I don't get this. So that was my, so I had like those sort of problems. I would only speak the truth.
Yeah.
I got in trouble one time. I wasn't in trouble. They had all the priests come in to basically advertise how great it is to be a priest. And so they had all these guys come in, and they would show the tobogganing priest film, and all guys sitting together and doing, fatherly things in front of a fire and drinking whatever they're drinking. And so at the end of the film, they wanted to raise all the hands of who wants to now be a priest. And everybody raised their hand except for me.
Because you didn't want a toboggan?
I don't want to be a priest. It's like a whole bunch of guys in a ski chalet, and I'm just not that interested. I was 6, and they said, and it was like this thing. It's like, and I thought, well, you asked me a question, I answered it, and so they asked me this, they said, excuse me, Mr. Legato, do you understand the question? Do you want to be a priest? No. And they said, didn't you like the film? It was okay. The ending was a little weak. But it was okay, but no. And
Snow was clearly fake.
She brought the priest in and said, Mr. Legato doesn't want to be a priest. Why don't you want to be a priest? It's like, because I thought there was a choice.
Wait a minute. She brought in a priest?
Yeah,
in another Woody Allen movie? Oh, really? You know nothing of his films. I happen to have him right here.
I have Marshall McLuhan right here,
yeah.
who's going to tell you. And it was like a grilling. It's like, how come? It's like, because my dad's not a priest. I mean,
oh my God.
So it was a bizarre thing. And so I didn't really get. I was too stupid to actually get the nuances of just go along with the program. And,
I'm not sure stupid's the word.
Yeah, might be. It was, but
stupid or insightful.
Yeah, and so that would happen all the time. I would say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and I always wanted to make everybody laugh. So that is frowned upon, in or out of recess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no fun. My mom had said, "How was it the first day?" Not so good.
Did you mention you got spanked?
I don't know if I did or not. I don't because back then too is like
there's not a lot in it.
You don't get a lot of sympathy for that. That was sort of an accepted behavior, and you don't get a ton of sympathy because you probably did something wrong, and
right.
Now it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
And it's probably a good idea I didn't go anywhere near the priest, but.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole other history.
There's a whole other history of
available.
That's not the only thing they do in a chalet.
As a matter of fact, it sounds like you got off easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I didn't mean to take you off track.
No. So the first thing you realize is I got to get the hell out of Catholic school.
Yes.
And in fact, when you went to high school, you chose a public school.
And it was criticized
according to your dossier. But that was your choosing, and your parents were cool with the whole idea.
Yeah, they were good. My dad, in particular, he had some, I don't know if you call it a crisis of faith, but he just didn't believe it anymore. And there was an odd thing with the altar boys and the stuff. It was just kind of stuff that was not so good. And so he didn't have this thing where the church was. And my mom was more Catholic in that way, more strict. But then she realized, because we had some other problems, there's a nun who literally went crazy. I mean, like, you know, like we're going to send her up the river, like that old statement. They really sent her away because she used to beat the crap out of all the kids and lie and do kinds of weird things. So it was like, now the sum total of that. So if you didn't want to go, my brother went to Catholic high school for 2 years, and then he actually left too. And but when it was my turn, it's like, there's no chance I'm going to Catholic high school. And I now understand all the words, and I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, so that's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
right.
It was unbelievable.
And when was it at the public high school that you saw The Godfather and had another youthful epiphany?
Epiphany, yes. I went. The story is I went to see Fritz the Cat, the X-rated cat.
Oh yeah.
And I was a very small kid. I was the second smallest kid in my class, so I was young looking and.
See, I never enjoy hearing this because I was always first or second smallest kid in the class. But then I didn't get the growth spurt that everybody else.
But I willed myself to grow because I wanted to play professional basketball.
Oh,
so
I wasn't told that was an option.
Well, I didn't realize that either, but I willed myself. In fact, the doctor told my mother that, you're going to have to burst his bubble. He is not going to grow. He is small.
How
He's
tall
smaller
is your father?
than he was like 5'8"-ish. And my
doesn't
brother's like
bode well.
5'9"-ish. My mom's like 5'2", and my sister's 5 feet, I think.
And the mailman?
He's 6'2". He's about my age, my height, and he's got light-colored hair and stuff like that. So yeah, he was around all the time.
Sure.
As a matter of fact. But no, so I believed I willed myself to grow. Of course, I grew like in all things with me. I wanted to play basketball in high school, and so I willed myself to grow when I graduated from high school that summer. 5'7", 135 pounds, and then that summer I grew to 6 feet tall.
That's very painful.
Yes, it hurt. But
and also very painful for a high school basketball career.
Yes,
because you're done with high school.
I was the second shortest kid trying out for the basketball team.
So what happened when you saw The Godfather?
So when I saw The Godfather, so I couldn't. The story goes, I could not get into Fritz the Cat because I looked too young and I was too small. So all my friends got into Fritz the Cat, and lo and behold, the other movie that was playing next to it, which I could get into, shooting, all kinds of stuff, The Godfather. So I am.
I guess at 15, I'm trying to think what kind of group you were hanging out with that would choose Fritz the Cat over The Godfather. And at 15,
there was one of them was
an X-rated cartoon or some old Italians, and you grew up with an Italian, so you're thinking, give me the X-rated cartoon.
Well, we all were going to go see the X-rated cartoon. I mean, because that was the cool thing to do.
Right.
The Godfather. I mean, as a kid, you don't really necessarily hear about it. You heard the name and all that stuff. You didn't really kind of know anything about it.
Yeah.
So I heard all the stuff, and I was only with one other Italian kid in the thing. So there was only 2 people who were primed to go see it. And so it wasn't really quite on my radar screen. But the fact that I could not get in to see Fritz the Cat was like, and so I have to, I'm going to hang out for an hour and a half or whatever till the damn movie's over. So I walk into The Godfather, and I'm just
potentially more damaging to a young mind,
but not to a young Italian boy.
Not to a young Italian boy.
Now
it makes sense.
These are my people.
Yeah,
I've had those impulses. I just haven't been able to act on them.
Now I know what happened to Uncle Luca Brazzi.
And so I watched this thing, and it literally was an epiphany. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I want to do whatever that is. It's some art form. It went from a movie to some kind of art form.
In that one experience.
In that one experience. I love movies. I always want to make movies. Or I didn't know, that there was a job making movies, because California was the they people, and Hollywood was in California. So,
right.
And show business people were they people, and
New York was right across the river, but it was all about theater and.
Yeah, and it wasn't, so Hollywood was the only thing you knew made movies. You didn't really get the other portion of it.
Yeah.
So I never, I didn't know, as a director or a cameraman or, all those things. And then when I saw The Godfather, it was like the combination of all those art forms made up something else. And that something else was great. And then I came out of the movie theater and I met up with my friends, and they were talking about how great the tits were on the cartoon cat that they saw. And I had a life epiphany, and I was like, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to make movies. And it's like, yeah. Anyhow, and they would. And
this
so
cat's ass.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. It's like you're talking about a cartoon. They drew that, There's not, So that was my moment. It was like, and then I wanted to now learn everything about it. So then I got, books and things, and people didn't really want me to know that much about movies because they thought it would ruin it for me if I knew how they were made.
What people?
My parents.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
You would ask them, how is this done? And they say, well, we don't want you to know.
Yeah, when I remember being little, and they would just say, we don't want to tell you, we don't want to burst your bubble, and because once you'd find out, then it would no longer suspend disbelief like it should. And I wanted to see anything that had anything to do, any behind-the-scenes picture that showed a camera and a light and a thing, and just.
And what kind of stuff were you getting your hands on? Anything we would know?
No, it just literally encyclopedias that would have.
Right.
The red Britannica or something like that. We had one of those, and I'd go into the movie section, and there would be, illustrations of, people on a set or something like that. So anything. I mean, I didn't have any access to anything grander than that. And then I finally found a book called Memo from David O. Selznick, and then it's like, oh, well, this sort of illustrates.
You just stumbled across that one, did you?
Yeah, I literally just stumbled across. I heard the name before, I would know what it is, and I picked it up, and it was about one guy who made movies, and that was my sort of role model of this is what a person who, and then of course he does everything.
One guy who helped build a studio.
Yeah, and so I did that, and I just couldn't wait to go to, and I told my parents I'm going to California, and I'm going to find a school in California that's dumb enough to let me go, and I did.
How good of grades do you need to get into the Brooks Institute Film School?
It's not a huge requirement.
You need to have the gumption. It's
not mandatory.
Do you have gumption? It says here you have gumption, young man.
It's either gumption or tuition money. It's one of the two. No, yes. They had some stringent rules, I guess, but apparently not enough to stop me from going.
Did you have a solid B? Is what I'm asking.
No.
No.
No, not a solid B. A solid B would imply that it's strongly within the B category as opposed to on the minus side if you're doing really well. I used to get A's
flimsy B.
I got a couple A's that bring my grade up to a solid C, I would say.
Oh.
But I used to get, A's without studying in a couple of bizarre grades. Physics was one of them, and biology. I would get an A in biology without opening the book, never studying. And the teacher was so annoyed with me at the end of the whole class that she says, I will not give you an A for this class, even though you passed, and I aced every test, and never anything wrong. I don't know why. I mean, I have no idea why. But and she says, because you never did any homework, and I know you didn't study anything. It's like, isn't this supposed to test my knowledge? And my knowledge is an A. Why would I get an A minus?
Do you think that your knowledge came from literally listening in each class? Where did you get the knowledge from?
I think I had an aptitude for it, that it made sense to me in some way, and physics made sense to me in some way. Math didn't make sense to me in any way. Chemistry, that was an F. That was nothing made any sense to me whatsoever.
And did the F come because you had the same amount of cracking open the book as the A's?
No, I tried. I just had,
You tried harder for the F than you
for the
did
F,
for
yes.
the A?
I put a lot of effort into my F, and I'm very proud of that. Also, I annoyed the teacher to no end. So there was in the curve thing. I was on the bottom side of the curve. He was not. He didn't do any favors for me.
No.
But the thing that bugged me was that you would say, okay, well, if you do this, this, and that, then that formula will balance out. Okay, all right, I can accept that. Except if you add this thing to it, and there's all these exceptions which have to have been memorized, and it's
right.
It's like if it makes sense, like at some point physics makes sense. It either this happens or that happens, that happens. But when this happens, except if you add
the variable
thing, this variable, and then it's like, well, my brain does not comprehend, and I just could not do that.
So off you go.
Off I go.
To California. Did you have any family at all on the other coast?
No, I wouldn't have a soul that.
And how were the parents with my kids going to the other side of the country?
Remarkably good at that they allowed me to do it.
I find that they're either wildly supportive or wildly not. It seems so hard to find
I think my mom wanted me to, because my mom, she wanted me to stay. And my dad was one of those people that I think he said, well, this is what you want to do. And his life was sort of set up in such a way that he did what he had to do as opposed to what he wanted to do. And so kind of his gift to his children is, as crazy as this stupid thing is, and he tried to talk me out of it. He knew I wanted a car in the worst way, and he offered me to buy me a car if I joined the military, because I wouldn't get up in the morning and I had no discipline whatsoever, and it didn't appear at that stage in my life that I was ever going to do anything of any import. So there was no enthusiasm that I was going to make something of. But it was still okay with me. I chose it, and I said I was going to do it, and I wasn't one of those kids like Steven Spielberg that shot like a zillion 8mm films, and it's painfully obvious from his activities. I wouldn't do that.
You just had an idea.
I just had an idea. I just wanted to do it.
You've been studying encyclopedias?
Encyclopedias, yes.
Right.
There's no.
You've been mentored by the library?
Yes, and I read, probably the worst habits of one producer, David O. Selznick, and as my inspiration of what you're supposed to do,
right?
Of how big a schmo you can actually be, and still, I decided I would do it, and then all of a sudden, again, the epiphany portion, it was my calling, or what I wanted to do,
right.
And it came fairly naturally for me, and I understood certain things and certain truths and how people reacted and did things that factored into filming that I just I just took to it. This was one of those things that I.
And like all film schools, you go there to be a director, I'm guessing, but you have to learn every aspect of the filmmaking process.
Well, I thought that's what you had to do. I thought it was like the military. You can't be a general unless you're private, unless you go through all the rankings of the thing. And that's not true in the director ranks. But in my particular case, I thought that's what you had to do. You had to learn how to be a cameraman and a sound man and an editor and all the things I really like to do. I had to, and I loved all of it. I enjoyed all of it. I had a great time, and I always wanted to do more and more stuff. And I did the Steven Spielberg stories of sneaking onto movie lots and watching people film, and all that stuff. It was great.
There's a little subversive side to it.
Yes. I got a big kick out of. I went to CFI at the time. And they threw out a bunch of film cans, and I got a bunch of film cans. I'm not making this up. And I literally put a bunch of film cans. I didn't have the balls to just crash the gate and use my bravado. So I observed it, and I put a bunch of film cans, and I just walked with the other people. And because it looked like I had some, and then of course I had the idea that once I go there, I'd spend all my money on a T-shirt that said Columbia Pictures or wherever I was sneaking onto, and then I'd wear that, and that would be my calling card. My Columbia Pictures. Of course, again,
They don't sell this T-shirt to just anyone.
Yeah. You have to be in the club to get a Columbia Pictures T-shirt. I mean,
just like the Kevin Pollak Judge Show T-shirt.
Yes, right.
Yeah, you have to.
I suspect when I wear that, I can walk through this anytime I want.
You can actually.
And so I did that, and I would watch people film and ask questions and all that stuff, and eventually, people even waved you on because you looked familiar. And I went to Universal, and I noticed that every Friday everybody would go cash their checks at Bank of America at Universal, and I would wait till lunchtime, and a whole crowd of them would go there with their checks, and I would just walk with them, and I'd go to the Psycho House and
oh my God,
all that stuff. So I did all that.
Did you have a partner in crime during this?
No, one person was so intrigued that I thought I was making it all up, so he wanted to come with me, and the lot du jour was Warner Brothers at the time, that I was going to take him to Warner Brothers, and I said, just act like you belong here, don't look around, go straight, and just don't look at anybody. Don't look at anybody in the eye. Just you're walking straight through.
Did he succeed?
No, he took one step and went, oh my God. And it was like, excuse me.
Hey, you, come here.
And they nailed him. They didn't say anything to me.
No, because you kept walking with your head down.
I walked with my head down. I was, of course, everybody walks to the studio has their head down at some point.
It is so true. You remind me of the check window on Friday. Of course, is originally the last shot of shooting on a film of the day, before it was called the martini, was called the window.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because on Fridays you would go get your check at the window, yeah.
I did not know that.
I would like to show just a little snippet. Does it feel like we've been chatting a good 45 minutes already?
Wow.
Well, I took up the first 30.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
But,
with your homage to Oprah.
We have a well above average viewership. We're up against the AMAs and 140 million coming in for the Twilight movie. And yet, far superior numbers here than Matthew Perry got.
No.
Yes, and there's an outcrying to see some sort of clip. All right.
And no one's like dropping off it out like every second.
No, they might be, but I don't
dozens
if
of
we don't
people.
show something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're waiting
This
for
guy
the,
does not shut up and you don't show something.
No, I think that's fascinating, actually, your line of work. I don't know if they're all waiting actually for a clip from Avatar. They think they're going to see something that isn't available anywhere else, which you are. But before that happens, let's take a look at. Did you guys have something in mind in the studio there? Do you want to show the? Which one do you want to do? The. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to set this up at all, or just show the?
No, it's
roll
probably
into
some
it?
commercials and stuff I did where.
Some of the early work.
Yeah, actually, a couple years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, early.
You just started.
It was. I did it like 6 or 7 in the morning, if that's what you mean. That early, yeah.
It is what I meant. A little bit of behind the scenes with Mr. Legato. Enjoy. No clip. Sorry, couldn't get the clearance.
Heavy machine stuff is always fun to do.
Yeah.
Cranes and rigs and stuff. It's cool.
A lot of smoke too. That
A lot
costs
of
a fortune.
smoke. You can't miss with smoke.
With a truck going through smoke.
Smoke, backlight, truck, and smoke. You're good.
You had me at the smoke. That truck didn't have to fly, really.
No, it didn't fly.
Just show it.
It was just hanging there. I flew past it.
So you were saying while we were watching that might be why Chevrolet went bankrupt.
Yes, it was. I think after this commercial, their sales plummeted.
They spent a few dollars.
Yeah.
Now, not only do we want to give the viewers a little bit of your work, and then talk also about what goes into something like that commercial. How much time, for example, do you get to work on something like that?
Well, this one was it was a rush job. So the concept of coming up with what you're going to do and then how you're going to do it was, within a week. It was like, you come up with how possibly in this time frame can I film what I wanted to do for my contribution to the thing. So it was about a week of concept, and then I went to New York and shot a bunch of the still photographs of that, and to say, okay, I want to populate the world there, and I want to make basically the truck fly or do whatever I wanted to do, whatever shot I thought was a cool shot. That's what I wanted to do, and so you sort of set up the system to allow you to have the flexibility to put the camera anywhere you want, as opposed to you storyboard a frame so tight that that is the shot, and it may not work when you go to cut it together because it's not cool enough or whatever, but because you preordained it, it was. So I sort of like to work in a way where I set it up in a way that I could now, within that playground, do anything I want, because I usually wait for the input of what I'm doing to inspire me to say, it's not this, it really needs to be that. So when I did the early films like Apollo and Titanic, that was the way I worked.
Give yourself a bigger canvas.
Yeah, a bigger canvas, and people tend to, in my line of work, want to pigeonhole it to a storyboard frame, and I can't draw, and I'm more of a cameraman, so I need to look through a lens before I could tell you with a great authority that this is a cool shot as opposed to that one. So what I needed to do is always create a canvas that I could actually have flexibility within it. Yes, today I know I'm going to be shooting something about the truck or something about the ship or whatever it is, and it's going to be somewhere around this angle, but I can't tell you exactly what the angle is until I sort of feel it or sense it or all that. So
people around you love that sort of
the producers adore that
uncertainty.
Yes, they do. They absolutely they can bank on the fact that they have no idea.
Can we get a shot list?
I used to get that a lot, and it'd say, well, what do you need a shot list for? I'm going to show up around 7-ish, and then I'm going to leave around this time, and by the time I'm done, I will be totally happy to have everything that we want. So just have all the stuff in front of me. And they said, well, we like a shot list. Why? I mean, why? What are you going to use the shot list for?
Make sure you get all the shots.
Get all the shots. Well, yeah, I guess they do have a point there. But it does annoy people who try to schedule and
who don't enjoy chaos
and don't know that necessarily how we doing by lunchtime. I don't know how many shots we're doing. So we could be doing great, or we could be we're in the toilet. I just have no idea. I said, but that kind of freedom is good for you. You don't have to have a lot of stress. It's all my problem.
Yeah.
And so they still don't appreciate that.
I'm
just looking out for them, really.
Clearly. As I mentioned to you before we started, I like to enjoy involving our viewers as well, because they often have their own damn questions that painfully are more interesting than mine. At Martha_S asks, what are differences between creating visual effects for documentaries versus fiction films, gilded by similar or different principles?
That's a pretty good question. To me, I treat it like it's more like a documentary, and I set up what I like to call, set up something that looks like real life, and then I photograph it. And so it tends to, for me, like when I did the movies I worked on, like Apollo, I basically took the idea that I was shooting a documentary of the liftoff, as opposed to I was doing a Hollywood version of that, where I pattern everything after shots and things that you may have seen, not necessarily physically, but in your mind's eye. You look at it, the launch, and you get inspired by all the stuff and the pageantry of it and all that. And what I actually did, to make a long story short here, is ran all the stock footage, asked people to look at it, describe back to me your favorite shots, and they would always be different because they were always get moved by the moment and describe something with a camera move or something that really didn't happen. So I took that tact at that particular time that I was going to match your memory, not real life.
Wow.
And so that seemed to work. People who looked at it felt that that's what they remembered seeing, but if you showed them side by side with it, it really wasn't quite the same shot. There was a camera move in it, the lighting was different. I used different lenses. I put, instead of the long lenses that we normally see the launch, I would use short lenses, where it means that the camera is now closer than it would have been. And it reminds you of something you've seen, but so that's sort of my approach. So I think they're one and the same, and I tend to, in the work I've done, do more realistically based films than special effects, like grand special effects in the traditional sense, where it's depicting something that really happened in some cases. So I would say, to answer Martha's question, I think there's no difference. And the more I can fool your eye into believing that it is real life, the more I believe it tells the story. So I am trying to achieve as if it was a documentary. That took long.
Did I not tell you that he would at least sound like he knew what he was talking about?
Did I achieve that right there?
Yes, congratulations.
Wow.
This from at Elaine Ewing. You find it more challenging / rewarding to create fantasized special effects or to create real life and environments? I think we might have
sort of answered that. I will the short version is I like real stuff more than fantasy. I'm not a big fantasy fan. I'm not a big science fiction fan and all that stuff. So I like real things.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about was one of the early jobs you had was the 80s version of the Twilight Zone. You did all the unbelievably cheesy special effects in that series.
Well, I would
cheesy
say
by
that.
today's standards, sir.
Well, okay,
I'm sure at the time they were cutting edge. But to look at them now,
yes,
one must
but
squint.
You have to make sure that my name was on the ones that you saw.
Yeah, of course, you didn't do all of them.
I didn't do all of them because there was, the reason why I was hired is that there was some rather.
Oh, you were brought in after the cheese. You were post-cheese.
I was the second year.
Were you second year?
Yes.
That's post-cheese.
That was post-cheese.
Yeah,
the first year was I don't want to denigrate anybody's fine work.
We're crazy fans of the original, have the DVDs of every single episode. Spent my birthday at the Egyptian theater here in town that ran 7 episodes of the original series and had a huge Q&A panel with original writers and directors from the and of course, Fisherman was one of the writers was dressed like Gordon's Fisherman. But sometimes I'll hear an episode downstairs that Jamie's watching, and I'll say, "Ooh, which one's that?" And she'll say, "It's from the '80s one."
Oh yeah, there was some.
There was some cheese.
Now Willoughby was my favorite inspirational.
Next Up Willoughby.
Next Up Willoughby is one of my favorite shows.
Guess what happens every time we drive past Willoughby in Hollywood?
Do you say that?
One of us says.
Next up, Willoughby.
I'm getting off this time.
I love that.
I'm
getting off this time. Yeah. I always thought I'm going to get off this time meant something important.
Yes, there was some cheesy stuff in that.
No. I meant
some good stuff.
I just meant in terms of your lack of fanship to all things science fiction.
Yeah. Well, what I liked about Twilight Zone is that a large part of what I did was not necessarily totally fantasy oriented. There was still some real stuff, just like people on trains and doing various things. So it wasn't quite the big leap that Star Trek was. And Ghosts, I did a Ghost one. And I remember the Ghost one was a little kind of funky. And Star Trek was really funky. There's some really funky stuff in Star Trek too. But
Yeah. I want to talk about working with Gene Roddenberry very early on in your career, because I know you might have been your TV. You finally got to direct an episode featuring his wife,
Majel Roddenberry.
yeah, who of course was in the original Star Trek series. And anyways, but Gene came to visit the set that day. On your first day of working.
Yeah, there's two stories. The first story is Gene came. You're nervous as hell when you're directing. The first scene was 9 actors in a room where nothing works. There's fake panels. There's nothing for them to do, and you have to come up with 8 pages for them to do stuff in a room that nothing. So nervous as all hell. And then Gene's wife was going to be the star of this particular episode, and it's like, and then he's like, even back then when we did Star Trek, he was like the biggest deal in the world on the lot. I mean, it was like, and so he came down. I was like, oh my God, no one knew him that well. I mean, at my level of the thing, and he couldn't have been nicer. He was like, I even told him, I said, I'm a little nervous that here. He goes, oh, we're in good hands. Everything's great. He just came there to support his wife,
right?
And that's all, and very complimentary and.
So it would have otherwise been ridiculously nerve-wracking.
Yes, and then if you have time, I'll tell you the other Gene Roddenberry story. Okay, the other Gene Roddenberry story is, so I did the first day.
Gene Roddenberry.
And for a much longer story that I won't go into is that I was 3 hours behind schedule, not by my own doing, but by miscalculation of the front office, the ADs. They miscalculated the page count of talking to the screen.
You're not going to be held accountable today.
Okay, that's all right. So
let it go.
Yes, it's true. Even to this day, I can't even repeat it without trying to say, it wasn't my fault. Really, it wasn't
I noticed that.
So at any rate, I went home and thought I was going to get fired.
Sure.
Because, I'm 3 hours behind the first day, and, of course, you think everything you do sucks and all that stuff. So
I don't, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you hear tell that other people have that problem. But,
exactly.
So I was, despondent, and I had to go figure out how to make up for 3 hours. And 3 hours in TV is like a huge amount of time to make up. And So I come up with my plan, which I like to do is do things in one if I can. I could do a stage in one. So I'll take 3 pages, which is 3 hours. If I could do it in one shot, I am gold. I am back on schedule. So I do this, and of course it's my second day. So people were giving me the benefit of the doubt on the first day. They don't give you the benefit of the doubt on the second day. Now, it's like if they sense weakness, they're going to go in for the kill, and so the crew is basically in for the kill. Who otherwise lovely people. I don't want to denigrate them either. But so what I don't know is all of a sudden everybody, when I'm going to stage this scene, which is kind of risky because now that's how I'm going to make up time, every top brass of Paramount is showing up.
Suddenly stopping by.
And it's like, what's happening? I mean, it's like, this is like the Grand Marshal firing for me, and now I'm going to set up this shot, and they said, well, Gene's coming by. It's like, oh, they're going to make a ceremony of firing me. I mean, look, like the head
it's the nun again, the line for the bathroom.
The head of TV and the head of production and all these people are like, and
which one's going to spank you?
Yeah, and here's the bridge, and then here's where the screen normally is, and behind me now is everybody, and it is like, what is going on? And so I go to stage this scene, and now I'm getting very nervous because and I'm now doing a risky thing. So I say to the cameraman, okay, here's the shot. Come down here. And he turns to me and whips out a director's finder and said, that shot's impossible.
He whipped out a director's what?
Director's finder.
Oh, finder, yeah.
And said, he whipped out a director, I think it's actually out of his bag.
That's what I thought. He reached back and pulled out Otto Preminger and said, that shot is impossible.
And now I'm like, you look around and there is, holy shit.
The firing squad.
The firing squad. So I now, the numbers don't make any sense on the director's finder. Even if you know what you're doing, they still don't make any sense, and all the different formats. And so I'm now trying to, do all this. And I end up doing sort of a Orson Welles trick where you move furniture out of the way, and because I did it this way, when the camera's over here, you're going to move the little console all the way here, where I think LeVar sat, or I can't remember, one of them sat there. And then as the camera settles here, you're going to push it back in, and that sort of made the shot work. And then he went, oh. He was kind of a schmo at that point, but it's like, oh, we could do that. So we do that, all right. And so I finally get the shot, and I get it within 3 or 4 takes, and the cast they were always terrific, but they, really pitched in and did everything exactly right. I'm like, I am on schedule. And what's the deal with the with the peanut gallery? Why is everybody there? Well, apparently Gene was in this episode. Wesley, the kid, was going to get his lieutenant stripes or ensign stripes or some whatever military-esque thing, and Gene was in the Navy, and he writes those things based on. So he wanted to give him his ensign stripes that he got when he was in the Navy as a little show, which I didn't know that was going to happen.
As a presentation.
As a presentation. So when I finished the scene, which is the kid basically getting the ensign stripes and sits in a seat, now he's the elevated thing. I don't know any of this. And so now I'm done. It's like, and at that point of his life, Gene didn't walk very fast. And so all of a sudden now I'm starting to catch on, and he's walking, he's shuffling. And it's like, I'm looking at my 3 hours I just picked up slowly as he's like, it's like, hurry up, Gene, whatever you're doing, do it. You know. And he made a big presentation, and I gained a half hour because I lost 2.5 with the presentation. So,
oh, man.
but I thought they were all there to basically do
Yeah,
a tremendous firing of me, and it ended up, and I was sort of like, oh, I'm semi-relieved, I guess. Because
Yeah.
now, this delay,
Now you could point the ultimate finger.
yeah, Gene.
Wasn't me.
It's Gene. And he was very sweet about this whole this ceremony,
Well, no,
and
of
gave him
course.
the stuff that he earned in the war to this kid, who was a great kid, Wesley Crusher character, and I think he was doing Stand By Me. Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Yeah.
Huge on Twitter. Huge presence on the Twitter.
Is that right?
Yeah, and sold me the ensign thing that
Did
he
he?
got from Gene Roddenberry on eBay.
No.
Nope, made that last part up.
It was almost bought that.
At Paul Saint Amand offers up what we like to call at the show a tweet 5. There's a chance.
T5. This is like DEFCON 5?
Yeah. T5 forever now. Last week, we had the great David Keckner on, who, when I said I was going to give him the tweet 5, he insisted on
Doing a bit.
creating a bit, which we chopped, cut, and offer up to you every time I say this is called a tweet 5.
And what's the rule book again?
Nice going.
Yeah.
And then this is where I say, but that gag at the end of the show,
That'll be
dead
right on. Yeah. So this will be your tweet 5.
Okay, and what's the rule book again?
The rule book is basically it's a yes or no, this or that sort of thing. There's no correct answer. It's your opinion.
And there's no long-winded like I've been doing.
I would say it's well, it'll be, for example, this first tweet 5. The first one is film or digital,
Now digital. Love film.
miniatures or CGI.
Miniatures.
I like that. We may expound on that one. Sci-fi or historical drama.
Historical drama.
This will be a
Hands
fun
down.
one for you. Scorsese or Cameron. I'll be over here if you need me.
I love them both.
Yeah, that's right. That is the correct answer. TNG or DS9. Boy, I hope you know what that means.
Well, it's the Next Generation or Deep
Oh,
Space Nine.
okay.
And I would say TNG.
Also correct.
Is it?
There's no correct
Oh,
answer.
okay.
It's just your
So
your
there's a
take
rule
on it.
book, okay.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's a tweet 5. It's a quick,
Oh, okay.
quick
That
rapid.
was I could do that again.
Yeah, we'll have more of those.
Okay.
Send more tweet 5s if you dare. We're going to take a little intermission so that I can, for no other reason, relax. We'll be back with more clips. I just want to educate my guest on how the Larry King game works.
Oh, I didn't practice like I
Because
should.
at the end of the show, he will, of course, as they all are, be asked
Embarrass, humiliate themselves
to
with
offer up their own Larry King game. But we have a clip package of other guests doing the Larry King game.
But they excelled at it. I'm
No,
sure.
no. I showed the good and the bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll be right in there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure within that spectrum, I can.
It'll just be a couple of minutes. Also, I need to pee, so enjoy this clip package of the Larry King game. We'll be right back right after this.
Let me begin the transformation into Larry King.
Yeah.
Feel it? Pretend like you're wearing an Ed Hardy shirt. Yeah. You just got divorced. Now you married a younger woman. Oh, third heart attack. Fourth heart attack. There you go. Go. You're getting it.
I have a birthmark in the shape of Satan on the tip of my penis. Browntown, Ohio. You're on.
Now, Kevin,
Yes.
there was a movie made about your life,
Right.
Ed Harris, wonderful portrayal of you.
I think he was nominated for Academy Award.
Tell me about the drinking.
Oh, once again, no more calls, pencils down.
My wife calls me a gas bag. All right. We're going to Lone Pine, Missouri.
I don't think you need to say Missouri anymore.
I want to.
One time I let a chick shove a brush up my ass. Beaver, Pennsylvania, you're on there.
I'm sitting in my own sauce. Wichita, hello. Wichita?
Oh, our next guest is the woman I want to fuck, Dakota Fanning. Boca Raton, you're on the air. Is that right?
I want to get my shoulders
Get him worked up.
as high over my head as I possibly can.
That's right.
After the show, I like to unwind with a half a bottle of Blue Moon Ale, my favorite microbrew. I close my eyes, try to listen to the sound of the waves on the Malibu coast outside my window, but all I ever hear are the plaintive cries of that little girl I strangled back when I was a teenager just to see what it felt like. Turns out, it feels good. King of Prussia, PA, you're on the air.
Little known fact about myself, I like to, when I have acid reflux, I put it in a little cup, and I keep it by my bed, and I give it to my wife at night. She likes it. It puts us both to sleep. Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire, your call.
Evening, I'm Larry King, and whenever I go to bed each night, I sleep with a copy of Blue Crush between my ass cheeks. Why? So I can ensure that I'll have the kind of dreams I want. Dreams where Michelle Rodriguez kicks me around the goddamn studio and does what I call clipboarding my balls. Go!
Walla Walla, Washington, you have a question. I have a prostate the size of a small boy's clenched fist. Go.
My favorite mode of locomotion from the cobblers to the haberdashery is the horseless carriage. Fisty, Kentucky, you're on there.
All right, I'm so sorry.
I thought that was Larry.
That's it.
Now go to the phone. You're done.
You'll have to forgive me. I just shot my pants.
Every night, I sleep in a hammock made from the bones of my enemies. And once, this is true, once, in a misguided effort to impress Angie Dickinson, I swallowed a Phillips screwdriver. Waukesha, Wisconsin.
And that's all the news that we have this evening from Kuala Lumpur. I do want to point out an episiotomy takes longer than you think. Kermit, Arizona.
In the fall of 1971 at an Arco station in Button Willow, I had my entire fist up Monty Hall's ass. So is that kind of what you're going for?
Go to the phone.
Huh?
Go to the phone.
Go to the phone. Oh! Had my entire fist up Monty Hall's, or Steve McQueen's rectum. I wasn't sure which one you wanted. Yeah, okay. I was in a cornhole stack at the Playboy Mansion in 1968. Merv Griffin was on the bottom, then me, Fess Parker, Ronnie Shell, Art Garfunkel, Trini Lopez, and Sebastian Cabot. Hef was watching while Otto Premiture blew him. Butte, Montana. So, there you go. I wanted to do a long one. Oh, cornhole stack.
It does, I'm afraid, turn into a little bit of the Aristocrats. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. The premise is you do a bad Larry King impression.
Which is no problem.
Everyone can do that. And then as Larry, you reveal something about yourself.
But not
Larry.
Yeah, Larry, not about your real.
Yeah, I need to work on the wording of that. For some reason, I say what I seem to think is crystal clear. As Larry, you reveal something about yourself, but everyone replies, "But not about me."
Because if you say something like what he just said, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's
LeVar
revealing.
Burton, our first guest, revealed something about himself during the Larry King game, and we learned quickly on, I need to better explain this. All right, let's show these the viewers of still a huge number. what?
Well, they're waiting for the Larry King, I think. So
yeah, clearly that's how we'll keep them.
Yeah.
But I want to show a little bit of you brought some footage from the Titanic and the Apollo, and this again is sort of behind the scenes.
No, it's actually not behind the scenes. It's something that I cut together to Oprah. Actually.
A demo reel.
A demo reel. It's basically the type of things that I liked to do, more than fantasy and other stuff. So this is kind of like, I just put it together because I liked it, I guess.
All right.
So it'd be what I would sell to directors and producers and whatever.
Let's see what you got, kid. This would be the answer.
Hope you like it. Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at that, please. Sorry. Clip, no. There's no clip. You idiot. Can't afford a clip. So other than the two of them kissing, none of that actually happened.
Well, it happened in real life, but it didn't happen when I did it. It was all fake when I did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. All the visuals we just saw, other than the two human beings interacting.
Yep.
And where do I begin? The first visuals we saw were from The Abyss. And you were saying...
Titanic.
Titanic. Oh, Titanic, right, of course. Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
The $1.8 billion film.
Yeah, let me just check on the box office between The Abyss and Titanic.
Now, that, of course, doesn't include the DVD sales.
Right. The Abyss did very well in DVD.
Yes, it did very well.
Don't you dare. But
nothing
for the first stuff of the Titanic, of course, the two motorized crafts that were cutting through the water on their way to the actual ship. How many elements are involved? Are we talking layers of plates?
No, it's actually, that was rather simple. In the movie, Jim actually went down to the real Titanic, so I had footage that I was matching to that had to create the same illusion. And he had one sub that he was photographing the other sub. So when you saw one sub floating around, that was the actual Titanic. When you saw two subs floating around, that's my recreation of that, because you couldn't have another camera.
So you're saying is matched in the film when there's one sub.
Is the real, it's actual real footage, and two subs is completely fake footage. I mean,
you weren't even able to use the real Titanic.
No, we built a model that was the size of your studio, not very big, and we hung it upside down on chains, and I shot it in a smoke-filled room, and the little subs are on little dollies that I had to basically get rid of the stick that held them up, and I created the
they were Muppets.
Yeah, Muppets. They were hand puppets is actually what it is. So I, and if you shoot it exactly right, and you had the little, like the little mag lights, the little flashlights, those bulbs are the bulbs that are actually illuminating the shot at a crazy, 5, 10, 15 seconds per frame.
Wow.
And there's another special little photographic trick that I did that made it feel like how the light attenuates in underwater. It goes from full color to the red starts dropping out and just ends up being blue. There was a little photographic trick that I was proud of that actually made it look like the real footage, and it's a little known thing. And so it was fairly simple. Then we added some ash from my fireplace as particulate. You literally throw it up and shoot in slow motion. It's particulate that's in the beams. And
you were able to use your own ash.
My own, and I did not charge the studio. So in case of what, there was all these claims of going over budget, but I did not charge the studio for my own fireplace ash. I brought it in for free.
You've never been paid for your ash?
I've not been. Yeah. Yes.
Your ash is not for sale.
Yes, my ash was not for sale, and I was my donation to the cause. And so I was. One of the fun things about that, I'll just go off on my serious tangent, if you don't mind, is. If you saw it back to back, and I was very moved when I saw Jim's original footage, and you add any kind of music like that to it, it has some emotional content, makes you feel a certain way. And when I recreated it and did the same thing, people didn't necessarily know what was real and what was fake, but they had the same emotional charge from something that is literally as phony as can be. If you saw it in real life, you would die. But they still got this kind of thing, this very tangible emotion from sadness, from seeing something totally fake. So it sort of, transcends the medium that you're working in. The fakeness of it gets transcended. Now, if you tell your story well enough, you will have an emotion with. And what I liked about doing that sort of work is it's an effect that generally is emotionless, supposed to make you anxious or whatever, but if it moves you, you know, in some kind of way, then it was
Yes.
then it was fun.
Well, here's the to me utterly astounding accomplishment. Like, dislike, adore, whatever your feelings now, lo these more than 10 years later since Titanic came out. Initially, a lot of the hype was, aside from all the 12-year-olds that wanted to see Leo, which is why a film gets to $1.8 billion. You go to see this famous ship sink in the most realistic way, that state-of-the-art visual effects have mastered and conquered. That was one of the things, certainly from my demographic, that was pulling us into the theaters. I can't wait to see what this looks like when they actually sink the Titanic. To Jim's credit and ability, worthy of all the Oscars and attention and the box office, is that his story that he then told was so engaging and involving and moving that when the ship finally started to sink, you don't want it to.
Yes.
Even though that's why you came initially. That's what got you into the seat. And now the movie actually, the characters, the story, the sense, the urgency, the emotion, the impact, the music, all of it. So that when this glorious moment begins to happen, as a viewer, I remember thinking, oh my God, what an achievement. Now I don't want to see it. Now I don't want it to sink. Don't sink. And then to your ability and masterfulness, dare I say.
Sure, if you must.
All the expectations leading up to the moment when it actually does sink, there's no way to be anything but a disappointment, with all the expectations that come. And then the only way it does $1.8 billion, which we'll keep coming back to, is if you paid off the sinking of that ship as far beyond our imagination and hopes as we had wanted and craved and desired. That, to me, is the accomplishment and deserved to be as celebrated, God damn it, as it was.
No. I think there's a compliment in there.
Are you anywhere near those?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. The reason why it did so well, for one, is you do tend to want to change history. When you see something, it's like if you just turned a little bit to the right, you would miss this whole thing. Like you just want it to happen, like the Kennedy assassination. We just drove this way instead of that way. So that you built into the kind of concept of the movie itself was that when we attacked what we did and how we sort of created what we did, it was based on, it's literally a psychological thing that we explored, which was the fun part of doing this sort of work, is when you looked at the wreck, you dreamed of what it must have looked like intact. And so we made up and created all the elements that it took to actually do that. The computer-generated water, which at the time was a big deal, which now costs like $200 in After Effects. You can get the same program that we did for millions. So it was, back then it was a deal, but now it wasn't. We created all that stuff so that your brain wants you to make the shot do that. You want to see the wreck and you want to see it become, in a seamless way as possible, back to life, and then the other way around. And there's some balletic quality to that. And the reason why I believe it worked, if I could say it worked, was that we just showed you what you wanted to see. You really wanted to see that. You didn't, it's instead of me just showing you a trick or whatever, we just showed you what you were dreaming about. Because when I saw the wreck for the first time through
Jim's footage,
you can picture people on the deck. You so desperately wanted to come back to life, as if you could change history. That was something, that was the emotional part to tap into. So that was the part that I thought made the film unique, is not doing effects to tantalize you or to engage you in any other spirit than emotionally wanting you to recreate what you wish to see as a viewer. And that's what it felt like that we were trying to achieve. And to some degree, I was doing that on Apollo, and it was a lot of fun to actually explore the psychological portion of the program rather than just the nuts and bolts of it. And if it worked in that regard, and I think it did, and Jim was, it's a pretty masterful filmmaker, so the setup of the story and everything, he leads you right down to that path where you literally, it's like, oh my God, well, everything else has just happened. Now the thing that we really now are dreading because we love the place, we're sort of reveling in the how great it was and trying to show to today's audience what those people must have felt like when they saw it. So you had to actually make things bigger and different and try to create the same feeling that they had when they said, oh my God, this is the biggest, coolest thing in the world. Once you did that, you got everybody hooked. I mean, it was one of those things that was a kind of amazing thing to watch, and how, whether he just sort of fell into it or I don't know if it's totally calculated. I think it's just emotional. You just sort of do what you think you want to see, and the world happened to respond to it because they respond to that particular subject matter, that visual. There's something haunting and all that about it. So I don't know. It just seemed to, like, everything fell into place.
Yeah, part of it's lightning in a bottle. There's no question about it to achieve that level of greatness. But that's just part of it. The rest of it is, I mean, some of it is happy accidents, maybe, and then it is. I mean, you've said this about Jim's work, or working with him, in that he's one of these filmmakers who actually is trained to do almost every aspect of filmmaking, and so few of them are.
But he wants to do that. He wants to, and I like that. I emulate that. In the stuff I like to do, like in the film, I want to be the cameraman and the director and the edit it and all do the effects work and the inserts. And I want, I don't know why that's appealing to me, but it appeals to me. And when I worked with Jim, that's all he wanted to do. And he didn't want. It was not like this, the king and all the people who do my bidding. He wants to do all the bidding. He wants to do all that stuff. And I think,
So when you're in charge of a wildly important part of this storytelling, as you were, how is he with delegating authority and power?
When I was doing it in the stead of him, and I would try to say, if it were me directing the scene, forget what I'm doing, the effects, if I'm directing the scene, what would I want to see? And when in the process of shooting it, and he doesn't love it that much, but you tend to say, if Jim were here, even though he told me to do that shot, if you were here and you saw this pretty grand visual, you go, oh, screw that shot, let me do this one. This shot, there's something about this, you respond emotionally to something. So I would tend to do that. I would try to do everything he wanted. Then I try to do what I believe, if I were him and he were in my shoes and he was seeing what I'm seeing, because you end up setting these things up and it's a pretty grand sight. I mean, that was one of the great things about doing the movie, is you set up the ship and it's the way it's lit and hanging out in the water, and you put the camera down low and all of a sudden you put in a couple of people in the fore, and you're there, you're in the, and it's the coolest thing you've ever seen. And so you go, oh, if I were, now that I see everything in front, that's why I like this sort of, and the aspect of it where you look and you respond to what's in front of you, not what's on a storyboard page that was drawn, 8 months ago in someone's living room with no input. Without seeing, without being emotionally involved in it, without seeing the scenes that happened before, without seeing the scenes that happened later, without any input at all. You make this cold, technical visual. And this one is, now I'm taking all that in, that is the shot. And, he was pretty good about it. And at first it was like I shot a bunch of additional shots, and I did a lot of the stuff that he dictated. I mean, the majority of it he dictated. But then I did a bunch of other stuff where it's just like, you know what? It's just too cool. You use it or don't use it. So I would tend to what you do in all the movies is shoot more than I was asked to shoot, because I again feel that if I'm in the stead of the director, he would not leave it at what he told me to do. He would want to alter it now that he has new input. So that's how I attacked it. So he was, decent about it, I would say.
Right. And also, as you say, you're in a position in those moments to make very, very specific artistic choices and creative choices.
And what the end game is, what you're trying to get lightning in a bottle, you're trying to get magic. So if magic is happening, don't ignore it, just continue to try to, even if you don't get there, just the process of the journey of trying to get there gets you somewhere else that you never anticipated that morning when you woke up and said, oh, I have a list of things to shoot.
Yeah, and he knows, obviously, there's a reason he wanted you in the position of that creative freedom and power and choice, even though you discussed what it was that you might do that day. There's a reason he chose you to be in that particular position, and you've got that knowledge going in as well, and that informs your ability to loosen up a little bit and capture the moment.
Yeah, I think what he liked was, everything feeds on everything. When I did Apollo and he saw Apollo and he knew that I did a lot of the work and, obviously what I did, he sort of, there's something about it that he liked. It was like, well, in all my movies I've done up till now, I would have a pretty cool movie, then a really sort of cool action scene, effect scene, then back to the movie, then action scene, back to the movie, and so we would take a little vacation from the film, the narrative of the film, to show this cool visual, but then it was never part of the movie. It was never like this was, a continuation of storytelling, and so something about what I did there was what he wanted me to do here without totally verbalizing it, but I knew he said that because he told me after he saw Apollo that it sort of changed his view on that sort of thing, where now he wanted a movie that there was no separation between one element and another, that it was all the same storytelling, and which I loved. I thought that was the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, it must have made you feel. I mean, you look at his work as a filmmaker going into that and I remember during the process of shooting and the amount of money that was being spent and all the naysayers, one of the remarkable things about the film's success that people immediately forgot was how they were lined up around the corner to lay claim. No, I'm the one that's telling you it's going to be the biggest bomb in history. No, I'm the one that's telling you it's the new Heaven's Gate. They were around the corner, endless, everyone you talked to, and it was immediately forgotten when it opened so huge. Everyone was, well, yeah. I mean, that was one of the sidebar remarkable things about its success. That
well, he thinks that because it had so much of that negative stuff, there was no more story to tell in the negative arena.
Right.
The only now new story is the positive arena, and so
expectations have been so lowered.
So lowered. It was it was a disaster. It's a runner I train, which it never was. It never really was any of those things. It was, perhaps a miscalculation of how much
miscalculation. That's how it should be remembered, Your Honor.
It's not. We didn't go over budget.
Miscalculation.
When you added up the budget originally, it was miscalculated.
That's right.
It didn't go over what we thought it was. You
clearly
wrote down those numbers.
You did not have the right Jews doing the math.
Yes.
Let's go back to the fans who are watching, who are tuning in. Again, record numbers. We're going to go to at Nightmare 54. In parentheses, my biggest fan.
He's my biggest fan.
Mine?
At Nightmare?
No, he's my biggest fan.
He's your biggest fan.
Wow.
Literally.
That's
Maybe you should answer the question then.
Literally your biggest fan. Tweet 5. It's called Tweet 5. T5.
I can't do that.
T5.
Oh, you
T5 forever now.
So he just came up with that. That was just inspired him at the moment. I'm going to do a bit on.
No. We're just going. I need to be able to show that every time, and eventually I won't have to ask for it. T5, T5 forever now. We live in a beautiful world. All right, Tweet 5, sir. Visual effects or directing?
Directing.
Willis O'Brien or Ray Harryhausen? Tough one. I grew up at the
Willis
feet
O'Brien, I guess. I don't know. I was never a big. I'm not a big stop motion fan. I didn't like all that stuff. Everybody who works in my end of the realm is a Ray Harryhausen fan, not me.
Do yourself a favor, mister, and see the fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Wes Anderson's new movie.
I heard it's fantastic.
He who not so much of a fan of the stop motion.
And I like Nightmare Before Elm Street.
This may change things.
No, Nightmare Before Christmas, not Before Elm Street.
Yeah, thank you for liking that. We're huge Tim Burton fans here. But seriously, check out the fantastic Mr. Fox. It's a perfect film, and I actually really want to hear what you think after that. Okay. I want to apologize to Nightmare 54. I went down to, my eyes went down to Martha_S for that first of the Tweet 5, so now back to Nightmare.
You ruined the whole show.
I did. Meat or fish? Because that's what everyone wants to know. Nightmare 54's got you.
Meat.
Nice.
I mean, because fish is so, that's so, it's pandering to people who want you to say that.
Nice.
So I'm going to go with meat.
I like the cut of your jib, sailor.
Meat that tastes like fish, I'll say that.
Even better. Yeah. You want meat that wait, no, that's wrong. Tea giving with. Oh, Thanksgiving.
That was the question.
Thanksgiving with Scorsese or Michael Bay. Is that what that question means? That's yeah. Thanksgiving with. Will you be spending Thanksgiving with Scorsese or Michael Bay?
Neither.
Okay.
I think my lovely family.
And now, if you had to choose spending Thanksgiving with one of those two.
But that's a hard one because one would tend to insult the other one. But being Italian, I'm going to have to go with Martin Scorsese because we would have the same sort of Italian stuff at Thanksgiving instead of traditional turkey.
Kevin Pollak, with or without hat? You've seen both.
Yes, I have. I photographed both. I'll go without hat.
I have a hat face. I've been told this many times.
But the baseball cap was a good look in the movie.
Beer or whiskey? The whiskey's single malt.
Single malt Scotch, yes.
All right, Scotch. Favorite female body part? Things just took a turn here.
Only one.
From Nightmare.
Well, I like that there's, there's only, I mean, could be multiple and then, well, I don't
If you had to photograph one particular part of a woman's body, what would it be?
Her face.
Take yourself physically out of it. Her face is the answer. Her face has been called. No more questions. Pencils down.
Okay.
No more calls, rather. Okay. Give me a little bit of the inception of your involvement of Avatar. Where does it begin, and how many years ago, first of all?
Okay. Well, the inception of the movie is all Jim. The concept of the film, everything about it is all Jim. So my involvement with
he came to you with his ideas when?
No, he never. That part didn't happen. What happened was when I worked on Aviator, knowing Jim to be the technical person that he is, besides the creative person that he is, things that work and are different than anybody else has done before. He's always interested in. So when I was doing Aviator and I did a plane crash. I didn't have any money to actually do it in a way that you would do it in a Titanic-esque sort of way. So I used a computer to pre-visualize the scene, and I cut it on an Avid to actually put the scene together, so I was informed on how to photograph this thing that is difficult to stage. And in the process of doing it, it was basically because I like to hand operate the computer instead of doing and telling a guy with a mouse to move the camera this way or that way. If I could do it myself, then I have this sort of organic nuance that comes with it. And then, of course, if you were to free it from the wheels and actually could walk around, then you'd have even more. So that was my dream when I was doing it. But I was doing it with pan and tilt wheels, and I was editing, and I would shoot this thing. So it's basically like live previs. I would shoot it and say, cut it in and go, you know what, I need a close-up of the wheel hitting the roof. Okay, now I put the close-up of the wheel hitting the roof. Instead of kind of preordaining it and then assembling it, it was like I was assembling as I was doing it.
Right.
And this was a cool shot, and this would cut better with this. And all of a sudden, you became more expert in shooting the scene than you have the experience for it, because you've never done it before. So it was like, well, this is a pretty cool gag that if you were to expand it, you could, somebody like Jim would really, and Michael Bay and other people, Steven Spielberg, people would really like it. So I always thought of Jim because I probably emulate what he does more than we are similar in tone. So he loves all this stuff. So I presented to him. I said, you know what? Here's what I did here. This is the limitations of what I had, because I only had one guy and a computer and me on the Avid, and I was the operator. But if you had a bigger deal, this would be a cool way to make a movie, where now you could go into a motion capture stage and you would actually hold a camera that is also being motion captured just like the actors are being motion captured. And because it's live, I get to tell you to sit over there or do this in the computer environment with a great deal of authority, because now I'm organically seeing the shot unfold.
Right.
It would be better if you sat, if you did this, let me do a dolly counter dolly move, I'll do all these things that if you were to ever work in CG, those happy accidents of just taking the camera and doing this 3 or 4 times until you find the right composition, those are iterations for a computer guy to do. Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? I don't know what I want. I don't know. I'm going to find it. Well, I don't know I'm going to find it is something, again, that producers and everybody hates, so they want you to be very specific, but you can't be really that informed that way. So if you do it yourself, you would form it like that in a minute. That's the cool shot. This is the better shot. You know what? Now that I see the scene unfold, I really need a close-up of you, looking at the paper, doing whatever, and you could go immediately and shoot it, and all of a sudden you build a scene that looks like a movie. And you add sound effects and people speaking, and it's a movie. Yeah. And it happens to be a movie that looks like a video game, but it's now I've pre-directed this scene, and in Jim's case, he went, and he funded it, much to his credit. He said, sounds cool. How much would it be for you to go do it? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'll do it as cheaply as can. And he funded out of his own pocket. We built a fairly big stage that allowed you to actually direct a scene just like you direct a live action scene. Same discipline, same everything. You're the cameraman, you're the editor, you take a camera, walk up to your face and go, that lens doesn't look that good. How about this one over here? How about this, put the hat on, all that stuff. You now have complete control. So he was going to do a film called Battle Angel at the time, and then his dream, I think, was to do Avatar. I'm putting words in his mouth, but I suspect his dream was Avatar. It's this epic, sort of science fiction-based thing with a human love story in the middle of it that is like a Titanic-esque sort of same feeling to it. Huge backdrop, love story at the center of it. And he just said, now I could direct my movie, because now I could use this sort of methodology, and it's really not an invention, it's more like a methodology, an idea, that if I assemble all this stuff together in one thing, like a director, again, I was looking at it like if I were directing it, what would I want to do? And I would want to do exactly that. Jim is a director, what would he want to do? And he embraces this technical stuff. So he switched gears at a certain point and made it show specific. I want to do Avatar now, and I want to do it like this. And then the work is now fleshing that out from rough ideas of off-the-shelf items to now saying, we want to make a real production unit that can actually do it. And so I left at a certain point. I just came up with this sort of virtual cinematography, virtual production idea, and then left it to teams of computer people and everything else to iron it out so that you could be dependable and use it every day. But he got off on it. I mean, he was like, I can now shoot the movie the way Jim Cameron shoots a movie, and when you see the film, you'll see his personality in every frame of how the camera moves. It'll feel like Titanic, it'll feel like True Lies, it'll feel like Terminator. It has this. His sense is basically transmuted through the camera, the way he moves it, the way he rushes at it. And it's a Jim Cameron movie, but happens to be done mostly in a computer. It doesn't have the computer patina on it. Doesn't have that kind of stiff, sterile quality. It has a real visceral quality to it. So, I don't know, did that answer your question?
Beautifully. And if I'm to understand, you created, out of necessity from having to do the plane crashing scene in Aviator, a version that didn't exist yet.
Yes, it didn't exist. I mean, fits and starts
Your
existed,
version
but my version of saying, well, let's
yet.
put it together. Here's the computer, here's the hand operating, here's the editor, and we're all the same guy.
Right.
And we all say, screw storyboards. Let me try this. Let me try that. That doesn't work. That sucks. I made a mistake here. That was an error in judgment. And you keep on screwing with it until you find the formula that you like, and then when you do it, it didn't really cost you anything. And now, like in my case on Aviator, I was able to shoot a scene that would take 3 months to shoot in a normal sort of effects environment to shoot it in 7 days. I was the cameraman. I made up the series of events, and now that I did it, even when now I'm matching the previs, because now it's an edited sequence to some degree. Thelma changed some parts of it, but for the most part, it's kind of intact. The story of it being told is the way we shot it.
Thelma being your housekeeper, I assume.
No, Thelma being Thelma Scooby.
I know.
Thelma, 3-time Academy Award winner.
I know who you mean.
Yes. And
Thelma
Marty
came in, she said, I don't think...
Yeah.
I'm not sure you got the...
She doesn't smoke, yeah. But, and then Marty...
That was your
Bean
housekeeper.
Yeah, yes. My housekeeper is also a talented filmmaker.
Please.
She told me and criticized my work many times.
No, I wanted to make sure that I had digested it correctly, which you just reiterated.
Yes, it is.
I had, which is that, and you're not the one to take credit for anything unless I insist that you do, but you basically created a milieu in which he could finally make his dream film called Avatar, which seems like a proper segue for us to show a couple of frames of said film, if you wouldn't sit there quietly while we do this.
I will sit there quietly and say that what you now see is all Jim.
All Jim.
And not a shred of me.
Let's celebrate that together, shall we? Again, there's the clip problem. I wasn't kidding before. We
We can't show clips of very. He would be like doing this, and then he could move within that, and go into the cockpit and out of the cockpit and create this. It's wild. It's pretty wild.
We were just discussing, I was catching up and reiterating and making sure that I actually understood, first of all, why you weren't needed to be present, because as you had mentioned off air just now, it was a 5-year process to bring this fantasy come-true film for Jim to fruition, and you did 3 to 4 to 6 films during that time. 5 films during that time? Sir, would you like some ice cold water?
Yes, I would.
All right, let me get that
in my
for
grumpy
you.
old men cup.
I wish I had some ice cold water. This is vodka. Enjoy. And then the other question that we were just following up on there was, for me and maybe others watching, to better understand this milieu that you had created, wherein he gets to move the camera wherever he wants, and I still misunderstood in terms of how much freedom does he have when it's being generated by a computer and some of the characters, clearly. And you had simply explained, if you wouldn't mind, just that you had basically created a way for, instead of the CGI, take me from here to there, shoot the scene, and then allow me to move the camera within that scene to wherever angle. So every take, as in normal or human being acting, every take is different from the next.
Correct. Every take is, because you're hand operating it, no matter how you're doing it, whether dolly or not, is going to have a different quality to it. Now, on top of that, and one of the reasons to do it this way, is that in the process of setting up this shot, if I pre-directed you to sit down and then you block the person in the background, I'm going to redo it. Now, even though you're Kevin Pollak, you're playing a 9-foot-tall guy, when you're walking around on the stage, I see a 9-foot-tall guy, and so it's like, you know what? Kevin, you need to move a little, just like on a stage, you need to move a little to the right so I can get a shot composition that dramatically tells the story I wish to tell in the way I wish to tell it. So everything is in flux, everything in control. If I want another tree back there to hide the guy because he has to appear or whatever, a guy walks out there with a stick, which has these same motion capture balls that the actor wears, and he's now a stick. And keep on moving and moving over there, and all of a sudden plant the tree, that's where the tree goes, and put the waterfall over there, and you could do, everything is in flux. Everything is just like you had total control on a real stage.
Of human beings.
Except for human beings and everything else, including the camera. So it becomes a very immersive thing you could go crazy with, because now you have so many possibilities, you have so many choices, but that's where you have to have a specific vision of, because you could do any shot in the world, you're only really doing the shot that a Jim Cameron appeals to a Jim Cameron, as opposed to somebody a lesser light would say, well, God, I have so many possibilities. It's like an ADD nightmare. I can do anything. I don't know what anything to do. You still tell a story on film, and you still move people and things around till you get this quality, and then you get this kind of verisimilitude of what it would feel like if you're walking one way and I'm rushing another, and it just has life to it that otherwise it doesn't have life in a normal sort of telecomputer generated artist or technical director to do this. They interpret it through their vision, which is not Jim's vision and not a lifetime of picking up a camera and shooting it, or mine or anybody else who does this for a living.
Suffice to say, the visual capturing of the story in this film has not been seen before.
That is correct. You've never seen a director so close to his personality being captured by the way he has framed and shot and directed every moment of that scene.
Right.
And so now it feels like
much more limited by the computer itself prior.
Yeah. Now the computer is just inconsequential. It's just, it doesn't mean anything because I am controlling everything. The computer's not controlling me. It's not interpreting my.
We beat the machines.
We beat the machines, and the actors beat the machines. They wore a head rig and they just emoted as you would in the scene. And through the miracle of all the guys who worked on the movie, came up with this facial capture system. So instead of having dots and sort of nulling out your performance by only capturing the dots that are on your face and creating in-betweens, it photographs your entire face, so every portion of your face is acting and it gets translated. So now that is driving the show. They did some, work and things because they were disparate objects. It wasn't the same exact human being, but the nuance of the performance was captured with a great deal of fidelity, and the nuance of Jim's camera performance and his directing style performance was also captured but not controlled by, he controlled it, the actors controlled their part. And so it has a sense of organic life. And when you see it in 3D on a big screen, it'll just blow your mind. It is pretty damn great.
Well, needless to say, I won't be the only one in line. Well, thank you for that, honestly, because it's difficult for a layman, let alone someone who's halfway there with the knowledge, and to have someone such as yourself make a couple of attempts now to help a layman grasp
How did I do?
The notion. I feel like I could explain it, which is about the most you could hope for. I would be wrong, but I feel like I could, and that's all you can hope for at the first pass, Professor. Honestly, though, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
A great many people, I think, are wildly curious about the process. And that's why one of the main reasons I wanted you here was to share your expertise. And I'm sad you didn't bring any of the awards that I asked you to. I've been focusing on the...
I have to tell you a story about my...
Oh, yeah,
at some point
Please. I'm going to put that down so we don't forget. I've been focusing on the tweet questions. There's a few from the chat room here at the Kevin Pollak Chat Show website. This was, where's from the chat room? From Sanchin Films, another question. What was a movie you didn't work on that particularly impressed or even amazed you with its effects or made you feel, gee, I need to pick up my game? Have you been inspired by other works? I mean, obviously we all need to think that we're at the forefront and the cutting edge, but somewhere along the line, even someone such as yourself might.
Oh, for me, honestly, when I see anybody else's work, I see the good stuff of their work and not the bad stuff.
And you see your stuff, you only see the bad.
I only see the bad stuff, and so I get intimidated by watching other people's stuff, and I go, well, I can't do that. I mean, maybe I could. But my feeling is, I don't think I can. I mean, that's really great. And I tend to not go, I mean, when you see something that's really not very good, then but when you see something of a particular level,
anything just come to mind that
it's hard for me to remember, but you know, I got impressed when I saw the first Transformers. I didn't see the second one yet, but I saw the first Transformers. Like, well, Jesus, that looks pretty damn great. I mean, and the shots are really volatile and cool and all that stuff. And I'm not sure, you know, I certainly don't think I would ever do a better job than that, and I'm not even sure I could do that job. But I was impressed by the skill of the people who did it and all that. I'm trying to, you know, it's one of those things. I probably have a lot of examples. I just don't have the list in front of me of the movies that do. But I get impressed by a lot of stuff. I get depressed by a lot of things too.
Yeah, well, please. There's no avoiding that. All right, we now go to also from the chat room, Jason Laudadio.
Oh, I have to add Benjamin
Yes.
Button. Benjamin Button was I just thought that was spectacular work.
Right. Yeah.
Where that raised the bar of doing that caliber of work.
Right. It's not easy to put that face on the baby.
No, it's not easy, and all the other stuff. I mean, the guy that's this tall that looks and acts like Brad Pitt. And you look at. I looked at it very carefully. I wanted it to be bad.
Right.
I really wanted to find some seams so I can say, I could have done that. And then I looked at it and was like, wow, that's really pretty damn great.
Yeah.
They deserved every speck of their awards and acclaim.
Well, it's important that you're able to tip the hat, sir, after bringing your own work. So Jason, whose name I'm destroying, Laudadio, wants to know if you do your own rough storyboards or work from others when you, in fact, use storyboards.
I
mentioned earlier that you're not an artist.
I can't draw, so what I tend to do is do sort of photo storyboards. I'll ask somebody to pose for a picture, and sometimes I'll create the illusion of hand drawing by sticking it in Photoshop and making it look like a line drawing, but it's really all based on me photographing something. Sometimes I have the model guys build me a miniature that I will use a lipstick camera. It's a camera about the size of that pen that can go anywhere. So I can now essentially pre-visualize what a lens looks like on a particular building or a person or a thing. And like when I did those commercials I used my nephew, Andrew Furlong, came in, and he fleshed out my little photo boards. And for me, I need to sort of design the shot. It's hard for me, although I'll try it, of having storyboard artists actually have their own vision of the thing that I sort of interpret or direct. It's easier for me I need to look through a camera of some kind, whether it's a video, lipstick camera, or anything else. But
there you go, Jason, with the crazy last name. When you worked on this from at Stan and Ollie, at Stan and Ollie.
His name's Ross. Just say Ross.
Ross Owen?
Yes, so you know.
Yeah, I know. When you worked on The Departed, the film was missing a shot of Leonardo DiCaprio holding a photo.
Oh,
tell us how you fixed that.
Somebody knew that. Okay, that's a
These are real fans, Robert.
Well, apparently they know the inside track. That particular piece of business happened where now there's sort of no limits to what you can and can't do. There's no, deadline that's too late. And literally on the day that we're filming out the movie, and it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By 6 o'clock that night, Thelma was at the 3-time Academy Award-winning Thelma Schoonmaker, was at the, meet us at the lab, and we're going to hit essentially what amounts to the red button that says print the film. It takes several days to print it, and in New York, 3 days later, it's going to play at the Ziegfeld Theater for the New York premiere of the movie. She calls me up at 4 and says, "Do you have a shot of Leo holding up a photograph of his mother?" No. I mean, that's a very specific thing that I just don't have. I mean, and she says, "Can you find one?"
Now, she asked you because she wasn't sure if one had been shot, or she asked if you just had a...
Marty looked at it. There was a scene in the movie where there was an insert that probably needed to be done that never was done for whatever the various reasons, or it was deemed that it was okay. And it was basically, he's holding up a picture of his mom, and then in the movie was pictures on a table as opposed to him physically holding up, so it's a sort of a misedit if you were to look at it that way. And no one seemed to notice, and it just sort of went by. And then Marty, of course, as you're going to release the movie, you're going to basically rip it out of his hands. He doesn't stop editing the movie. You just take it from him at some point. I mean, it's like, so he could always be, exploring other things. So, at any rate, last minute thing, and because, we say we can do just about anything, they actually asked about this shot. I mean, do you have one? It's like, no, I don't have a shot of Leo holding a picture of his mother. And can you get one? It's like, am I missing something? I mean, in 2 hours, we're going to press the button to film out the movie to play at the premiere. It's like, am I the one who's off? I mean, is that not happening now? Is there something that's... And my producer at the time was, the last minute request can get crazy, and it's like, are they out of their minds? I mean, it's like this.
There's yelling and screaming.
Yelling and screaming. And I was going to direct, I think, that commercial that you saw, the Chevrolet commercial, the next day. So some kid came by who happened to have a blue hoodie on, or whatever Leo was wearing, just by accident. And he came to take all my crap to take it to the stage where I was going to shoot this commercial, because I'm done with the movie. I mean, I'm just doing the last...
Is this one of those Hollywood moments? Hey, you, in the hoodie.
It is.
You want to be in pictures?
Literally, it's like, and I made a mistake of saying,
a picture.
Hey, you want to be in a Martin Scorsese movie, and of course, by saying that, he now was like, and we took because we had to work on the pictures that were actually in the movie that were on the table, so we, with an Epson printer, I mean, literally, like, it's in my basement, so there's no big glamorous thing. Took what's in the movie, printed out, and made now a photograph from what's the shot in the movie that he could hold in his hand.
And his hand was shaking just a little?
And it was shaking a lot because I made a mistake of saying you want to be in a Martin Scorsese movie. Well, who doesn't? So he's like, oh, God almighty.
Is Marty going to see this?
Yes, Marty. I said, fuck it, this is a great story. I mean, I can't not do it just for the story's sake. I mean, at least I have to try it.
Yeah, kid, try some bourbon.
So I sat him down, and I got one. I like to light with those clip-on lights. I don't know if you remember, but I do just a 100-watt light bulb, and I light with that. And the scene was so simple. It was a box, and whatever as a background, and we just printed, just like hot off the press, printed the picture, and I shot it with. We had a video camera. It wasn't even a. It was a HD camera. And I even have it here with me, by the way. That shot I'll show you after the show. And
after the show?
After this show,
huh?
Or whatever this.
You can't show it in the show?
I can, yes. I mean, I have to go out and find it for him, but
yeah, I think
it's on that hard drive I sent. So at any rate, we do it, and so now this is a half-resolution camera. This is not a full film resolution digital camera. It's a half-resolution camera. But when you're in this tight.
And how long is the shot going to last?
4 seconds, 3 seconds, something like that. And
Kenny, you'd be good with that, right? 4-second shot?
4-second shot.
Yeah.
And so shot it. Then we had to do our little manipulations to get it to match film. You know, just get it to be the same size and same sort of coloration. And because I had the film essentially in my basement in terms of the where it goes in, I gave it frame counts, and we went to Technicolor, who was going to print out the movie with Thelma waiting. And I said, "Oh, here's the shot. Bring it into the timeline, and." Color time it and hit the go button, and there's the shot. And if Thelma hated it, it wouldn't go in the movie. If she liked it, it was fun. And I did it to make sure it cut in, and it's in the film. And I got a call from, or word that 3 days later, after Marty saw the shot, he approved it. But it was already filmed out. I mean, it was already in the movie. It's like the audience watched it, and I approved the shot. It's
it's good. It's good. It'll work.
Yeah, it'll good. It's good. Very good. You have a shot of the. Hold the picture. You got that? Yeah, good. Very good. Excellent. Very good. Yeah. And that's where that shot. So somebody knew the inside story there, but that was, and I had to do because the story of it is too funny.
Yeah,
you just have to.
Hey, you and the hoodie. Now, can you tell Josh out there where in the hard drive he might go searching for this particular, so we can? That story would be awesome.
Can you put it on so I can see the drive on this little monitor over here? Can I see that there?
I think they're making attempts. In the meantime, I will go back to a.
Next time you have a pee break, well, go ahead.
A second pee break?
Yeah.
We've never done that. Yeah, we've just crossed the 2-hour mark.
Oh my God. Are there people still? I mean, you
stop feeling?
Transmitting when everybody goes away?
We've only lost a couple hundred viewers in the 2 hours.
Wow.
That's impressive, by the way.
And that was my family members.
Yeah, that was all my family. We have, while they're scrambling, let's go to another, you know what? I wanted to ask a little bit about working with Marty beyond Departed, if I can pronounce it correctly, Shutter Island, which looks pretty ridiculously great and cool and amazing, and there's a lot of pretty bizarre effects as far as all that I saw in the trailer anyways. How long did you work on that, and when did that all start?
That's about 2 years ago, because it took I think a full year to edit the movie, and so it was about 2 years ago is when that started, and it's a great movie. It's a really great movie. All I can say is it's like Marty's version of it. It takes place in 1954, and it's like Marty's version of the maturity that you see in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, where he that was like the. And I think it's Marty's favorite Hitchcock film, clearly. Where it was something else. And so he made his, I believe, this will all come from me, I believe he made his version of a Hitchcock film without any homage to Hitchcock in it. There's no, it's just like the subject matter and basically taking his best work and saying, okay, now I'm going to do my stamp, my version of Vertigo. And it's not about, it's not quite the same thing, but because it has a lot of the same elements, it's 1954, it's psychological drama, there's things that are going on that are surprising and behind the scenes, and everything, every clue leads to another clue and all that stuff. So he made a, extremely great piece of work that other lesser lights would imitate Hitchcock and be kind of a ripoff. He made a totally original feeling, just the same way people were impressed by Hitchcock's Vertigo, including myself. So it was, fascinating again, as always, to watch him work and weave the tale that he's gonna tell. And I always have a ball working with him and the whole group.
Other than Departed and Shutter, did you guys work together on?
Aviator.
Aviator, of course.
That was probably one of my most favorite film experiences. I think was Aviator.
Aviator.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, A, it's the film history. I love movie history, so and I know all about the Selznicks and the Irving Thalbergs and Howard Hughes at the time, and to recreate that time period and work with somebody like Marty in depth, and then try to recreate history, which I love recreating, and I got to be the second unit director on it and fill in blanks of the various things. It's just, and the richness of the thing, I got to recreate Technicolor. And, that's always loved that. When I was a little kid, I went to the Smithsonian and I saw a demo of Technicolor, and I thought it was so clever and then Marty asked me to do it, and I happened to know what he was talking about because I studied all that stuff. And I got to do all the things that I always wanted to do and made a Hollywood movie back the way it looked like back then. And I even did the effects, a lot of in-camera stuff, to be what they would have done back then, because that's the only way they could have handled it. They didn't have a computer, so they would do things that are hanging miniatures in live shots,
right?
And it was like way too much. Every day was just like too much fun. I just really enjoyed it.
Those are the best jobs. They're ready to browse Drive.
Oh, okay.
If you'd like to take a gander.
Yeah, can I walk over?
Sure, please go walk right over
formal,
there.
isn't it?
I'll go ahead and fill it in. Hi, how are you?
Yeah. You're seeing my back, which
no, they're on my camera now. You're fine. I had a question for you. You at home? When you're hanging out with Francis Ford Coppola at his vineyard, and no, I'm asking them.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking them one of your questions because I didn't have a question for them.
Okay, let's look under DVC Pro Reels.
We're going to actually let you know that next Sunday, as I mentioned
HD
at
insert
the top,
DVC
we'll
Pro.
be away for Thanksgiving.
That's
and then we'll come back with two very funny shows, the first 2 Sundays in December. And
okay, now
thank God you come back.
Is it not working?
Well, they have to go through it and find it. Let me ask you a tweet 5, sir.
Yes.
Are you ready for a tweet 5?
I'm ready.
And when I say tweet 5, of course I mean T5, T5 forever now. Come on. It's the game everybody wants to play. Movies of the 70s or 80s?
That's the question?
Yes, sir. That's the first of the tweet 5.
Well, the movie, Godfather, Godfather 2, French Connection, Chinatown.
Do you enjoy the movies from the 70s or the movies from the 80s?
Well,
if you had to choose a decade, there's a gun
probably
to your head.
70s, I would say. Oh, that was the question. Okay, that was. Okay.
I want to make sure I read it correctly.
I came up with the long-winded version of that.
No.
Yeah.
That's not like you at all. Good story or good effects?
Good story.
Oh, hell yeah. Listen to you. Endless budget or being creative with limitations?
Creative with limitations.
Creative limitations. Because I was going to ask, when doing Titanic afterwards, well, you had, I'm guessing, as much time and money as you needed. Or never enough.
Yeah, it's the biggest budget, low budget movie. There was cut as many corners as you can. It just, the appetite was larger than the money you had to do it, so you had to be clever within.
And it was misconceived, the original budget. It was misconceived.
It was a miscalculation.
Yes.
And I refuse to say I went over budget. I think it was, or anybody went over budget. You just wrote down the
We have some lawyers here that say otherwise, sir. But from the creative, the creativity that came from the financial limitations of Aviator is what in fact led you to, as we spoke before, about creating the milieu that's now used in Avatar for the first time.
Yes.
It was the financial limitation.
In fact, is exactly that.
It's the best example.
Yeah, it's the best example. Well, it's I didn't have enough money and enough experience to spend 3 months shooting something. I needed to know exactly what I was doing sort of before I walked on stage, and the only way to do it is to use the latest technology and then shoot it with the oldest technology, which is a miniature crashing into a building with locked off cameras.
Last 2 questions from the chat room from Jason Ladadio. He asked a question earlier. Remember me destroying his name?
And apparently did it again.
This was his tweet 5. We have 2 more for you. Effect in night scenes or day scenes?
Well, night scenes are much easier to do.
Yeah.
And more convincing.
You can cheat more.
Yes.
And lastly, and most importantly, of course, Kevin's Walken impression or Albert Brooks? Which did you get more of on the set of Choose?
I can never have enough Walken impression.
Well, here's the thing, tough guy, Mr. Fancy Pants, you with awards, up the wazoo.
Do you know why you were contacted for Choose?
Well, let's hear that.
Okay.
Here's our next story. Why was I contacted for a movie that I believe represented your directorial debut in the motion picture business?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
And why Kevin Pollak
And why
was
was I contacted to play, dare I say, one of the leads, but as it turned out, #1 on the call sheet?
Well, it was written in your contract. I have to be #1 on the call sheet.
That's
I
not
believe.
important for the conversation.
Yeah, okay,
sir.
yeah. I don't know
Why don't you
that.
just get to the question?
You could edit this out later.
Yeah. Edit.
I saw The Aristocrats.
Oh, no.
And I was watching Aristocrats and I was enjoying it. And then when your thing came on, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt here because
It's too late.
It's too late. When your thing came on, it was so, I had tears in my eyes because it was so damn funny because you played it so straight and as if it was really a story that Christopher Walken was telling in his sort of bizarre, nightmarish sort of way without it even trying to be funny or without, and it was just so hysterical that it was like, I got to work with this guy. I can't.
That was literally it?
That was literally it because I was watching the whole movie and then your bit came on and it doesn't often happen.
I thought it was some of my groundbreaking work in such films as, but no, it was.
Well, but you were acting as this guy and
I
saying
get
story.
lost.
I mean, that was. I mean, it was an acting moment, really, and you were being this guy, but you said this joke in such a different way than everybody else did it, and it just tickled me to no end.
There is a possession that takes place when I get deep into, and he named them both, Albert Brooks or Christopher Walken. I actually lose myself. When I'm doing Albert Brooks, I can think faster and funnier than I can as myself. That's how lost in him I get. And then when I'm doing a joke as disgusting as the Aristocrats joke is, as Christopher Walken, only then is it possible for it to be told as a straight story, as if it happened to him.
It was well. I do that because I do like stupid, bad, terrible voices. But as soon as I talk in a Brooklyn accent, I say things I would never say in a regular thing. It just comes to you somehow magically, and you sound like one of those guys that you're sort of poking a little fun at.
I do remember that on the set, the Brooklyn accent bit. I liked it very much. Have we loaded it and we're ready to go? We're going to show the shot that's in the movie.
We made more of a meal of it than it needs to be, but it's...
Oh, it's a 5-second shot. We made that clear. We're going to show a little bit before and after, or just the 5 seconds we're going to see, sir?
It is in.
Roberto? Are we going to see just 5 seconds here?
Well, it's a longer piece within the 5 seconds.
26 seconds.
Oh, fantastic. 26 seconds.
Oh, okay. Is the whole scene 26 seconds?
Yeah, we're about to see 26 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen.
You'll see
from
somebody, and I don't remember his name, his acting debut as...
The Hoodie? You don't remember The Hoodie?
I don't remember his name. He was a production assistant who picked up...
If you're out there...
If you're out there, I hate to...
Your hand acting debut in Martin Scorsese, when Martin Scorsese finally won his first Oscar for directing. Here are 26 seconds, some of which were created by today's guest, Robert Legato.
Yes.
Funny story. There's no clip. That and the duck.
The duck. That was we knew we were going to do that, but that shot of him holding
that last close-up.
It is half resolution, and the print was just literally wet because we printed an Epson printer and stuck in this kid's hands, and we shot that shot, and literally it couldn't have been more than a half hour's worth of actual physical activity to do it. But I just was fascinated by the fact that you can do anything now.
Yeah, and also a scene like that goes through and nobody knew, and where this viewer...
Yeah, I don't know. I must have told the story before. I gave talks, so maybe he was at one of the talks where I mentioned this thing. I showed it for kids as anything's possible, and the fact that you just have to have the will to do it. And
Ross is, I think, watching from the UK, no? Isn't that where, Jamie? Ross watches from the UK?
Scotland.
Scotland.
From Scotland. So that's who asked that question?
Yes. Did you ever get to speak in Scotland?
I did not speak in Scotland.
Must have been written up in some sort of periodical.
Must have been, or maybe he is the kid who showed up.
He's the hoodie,
and he's the hoodie, and said, "Please describe." And maybe they'll mention my name.
Ross, if you're out there, who also wrote a version of the Kevin Pollak Chat Show theme early on. Let's not forget that. If you're out there, Ross, and forgive me forgetting that you were watching from Scotland. How dare I say the UK? They should all go down in a fire. All right, so I think we've worked our way through the tweet fives. Martha_S offered up this one, visual effects or directing, Harryhausen. We got that part, but wait, Vice Admiral or Captain?
Since I don't really know advice, what is that?
Vice Admiral or Captain?
I'm not that fluent in that.
No, any idea at all?
Of whatever the higher.
Is it Star Trek speak? What is that?
I don't know.
Okay, good.
I'm not a Star Trek fan, so
Mac or PC?
Now Mac.
Now Mac.
Yeah, it was formerly PC, but now Mac.
Oh yeah, we'll get you all eventually. Keep the Oscar at the office or at the home?
Home.
Where in the home?
It's in. If you have time for a funny story, I'll tell you a stupid story. It's in my library at home.
And what is that stupid story as we come up on these 7 hours, 17 minutes?
Okay, I'll try to go quick. It is, if you get something as lucky as that,
You're right.
and you tend to, fill yourself up more than you should, there's always some thing to bring you back down to earth.
Oh,
And,
yes.
So this is the first week I have this thing. And of course, everybody wants to see it. Everybody's heard about it.
Everyone that knows you wants to hold it.
People don't even care about you anymore. They come over and they want to visit.
bring their
and then
speech.
the last thing they say, as if it was like, a minor thing, is like, oh, by the way, before we go, do you mind if we take a picture with them? So it's like the whole thing was set
The whole
up for that.
visit was choreographed.
So now we've had hundreds of people in the first week holding this thing.
Literally?
Literally. A lot. I'd say a lot. It was picked up literally hundreds of times, whether it's hundreds of people or not, but a lot of people.
I heard 47 was the number.
And so somebody apparently must have picked it up with their keys. There was other awards next to it, so they might have, the housekeeper was picking up the dust or something. My son used to put little army helmets on it. I mean, so it's basically taking this shrine of a movie icon and putting army helmets on and started bringing it down to a level. And somebody put a giant Ganesh in the head of the Oscar, just a giant scratch. So this brand new thing, and it was like, of course, it's like the Spanish Inquisition. Who did it? No one.
Wasn't me.
No, Oscar. No one touched it, apparently, except for the hundreds of people who touched it. So no one touched it.
Your 24-year-old son was putting army helmets on the thing.
He was 10 at the time, but so I'd be embarrassing if it was down. But everybody said no, they didn't do it. So there it is, like my first thing, giant, literally like a gouge in it.
It screams at you every time you walk by the Oscar.
Oh God, it just pisses me off.
And nothing can get that scratch out?
Well, you can return it, and I just never did. And
you can return it and say some of my idiot friends did this?
You can get it refurbished. Like eventually the stuff wears off from excessive handling.
Wool pad.
And 5 years later, without question. So it's always been like a sticking point that somebody screwed it up in the first week. And so 5 years later, we have this really shitty, horrible cat named George. And he's
George?
George.
It's a great name.
George the asshole cat.
George the asshole cat.
And he's nasty and he's rude and disrespectful of everyone. And so my wife and I were having a discussion about something with the kids' schools or something. We had to close the door in the library, and then the cat just ran in, and he got my attention. He was just like, he's trying to make sure we got eye contact. You're looking at me, you're looking at me. And he jumped up where the thing is held, and he literally chewed on it. And it was like, 5 years later, the mystery is solved. It's George the asshole cat. And a friend of mine said, you could get that fixed. It's like, I'm not sure I want to. I think it's so perfect that the cat, I don't know where he got this idea or that he would chew
Everyone wants an Oscar.
And
even George the asshole cat.
And it's like, you're not paying any attention to me. You think you're something, so I'm going to bite the head off your
There's a pin
prize.
light on this thing, the cat says. You've got a pin light on this thing. I'm going to take a bite out of it.
I'm going to take a bite out of it. So if you ever want to see it, there's a giant niche from George. And that cat, we've had many other cats, all been eaten by coyotes except for George the cat. George will not, he refuses to get eaten by coyotes. And he'll hunt me down in the house and stare at me like I get his attention, and he starts vibrating like crazy. And it's like, what is he doing? And my wife said, oh, he's about to spray. But he wants me to say, I want to tell you who's boss here, and I do want your attention.
So the coyotes surround him in the backyard there, just to say, are you the one that bit the Oscar?
I believe it's professional courtesy that they will not, he is
We
of
heard
that.
tell.
Yeah, it's like, you're the one with the Oscar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took a bite out of it.
Took a bite out of Oscar. That's good.
Keep
That's
up the good work.
Yeah. Paws up.
Sir, I've stalled as long as I can before you must offer up your Larry King game. You came in at 2 hours, 21 minutes and counting. Eddie Izzard setting the record at 2 hours 31 minutes, 10 minutes shy.
10 minutes shy of Eddie Izzard.
But
that is an accomplishment.
It's my job, out of respect to Mr. Izzard, to not allow anyone. And David Keckner last week came within, I think, 48 seconds. So formalize your notions and ideas for a Larry King game, if you will.
You know, it's like...
I can't believe the time is gone. I can't believe where it's gone. Don't know. I'd like you to come back. I'd like you to come back after the Avatar comes out so you can explain to us that where they went wrong. And no, you've seen the film and you're telling us it's fantastic.
Can you do a little bit of Larry King so I could only
Yes, I will.
imitate
I
people
will.
imitating other people?
I will. I will give you the example that where it all started for me, because Thanksgiving is coming up and we've been talking about it, and we're going to take a little Thanksgiving break. So this would be the very first version that I ever did, although the game was created by our head writer, Jamie Foxx. Thanksgiving. I like to teabag the gravy boats before the guests arrive. Milpitas, California. Hello. It's just that simple, sir.
All right, good. How do you do it again?
No, there's no version of a bad Larry King.
Oh, so any version.
My Larry King impression sucks. Okay. That's why I say.
Do I have to look at the lens or can I
right
look
down
at
the pipe?
Oh man, that's really bad.
You're Larry King. You look at your own camera.
You know why I'm wearing suspenders? Holding up my depends. Polly from Pacoima, you're on live. Me, not so much.
Nice.
Was that?
Yes, that's all we need.
Just something that's
That's all we need, please.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, well, that's the point.
That is the point, and apparently you've nailed me.
Yeah, yeah.
The
No, we've only had.
Now, I don't think Eddie Izzard actually did a Larry King, did he? Didn't he refuse to do a Larry King? Did I?
I don't know that he
I
refused.
think he was one of the ones that claimed he didn't know who he was.
Yeah, all the actually we've had one Brit, one Aussie, one Czech, and one Irishman. The four of them said, "We don't," and I'll give you the Irish version because it's the closest I can get. I don't really know Larry. I mean, I know who he is, and I know he's big over here and whatnot, but we don't really like to take the piss out if we don't know the man. Do you know what I mean? It's very difficult. It is. With all due respect, I'm sure it's a great thing, and I don't mean to mess with the show, and I'm really sorry, but you gotta know someone to take the piss. To take the piss, one of my favorite Irish expressions.
In English, I guess.
I can't thank you enough, honestly.
Oh, you're
so much left. This visiting Coppola at the Vineyard. There's so much more to talk about.
Oh, wow.
When you met with one of your all-time heroes in Francis Ford. So you'll please come back in the new year.
Yes, I will.
When we begin the process of bringing folk back for a second.
For a recap.
Yeah. Well, no, all new. It'll be all new. We'll have a new dossier.
There's stuff you haven't touched on. Not much, but there's stuff.
Well, now that I know 7 stories will get me 2 hours. Wait, what happened? Why would I?
Yeah,
it's such a strange.
I mean, I think I've been accused of pontificating.
No. It's what we do. It's what we do. But only when you have a good story. And you pulled that off beautifully today, and I thank you very, very much.
Pleasure.
Honestly.
And thanks for doing the movie.
I look forward to finishing the film.
I think a personal phone call from you would help that
all right.
immensely.
I'm going to make a phone call so that I may help today's guest finish his directorial debut, and I'm more than happy to do it, if at all possible. We will miss you. We hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving. We'll be back with a couple of fresh shows in December. The first one, December 6th, with Chris Hardwick. You know him as the host of Web Soup, I believe, on your G4. I was thinking Attack of the Show because he does that sometimes as well. And then one of the new stars of one of the new shows on FX called The League, Nick Kroll, who's one of the funniest people I know. But before we say goodbye, let's take a look to see what the crew is up to. Oh, that's the sweetest damn thing I've ever seen. It's Thanksgiving cards. Yeah, that's why the top of the show wasn't ready.
Because they're out there coloring.
As Jamie says. Oh no, but when they do their bid, it'll be flawless.
And because that's exactly what I sound like.
And it was. Now you know what it feels like.
Is that the bid?
That's the closing.
Oh.
That's the closing bid.
Should be like an invitation to Oprah or something.
Oh. Okay, so have yourselves a wonderful Thanksgiving. Please don't hurt your family members. You don't get to choose your family, so be kind to each other. And just get through it, damn it. And when your uncle stands up having a little too much to drink, feel free to laugh at whatever it is he says. Until next time, as always, get out of my face.